The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176, The Princess's Troubles. After more than 10 days of hard work, the Dragon Rider Mech equipped with a nuclear engine was finally completed. Dragon Rider Mech. Parameters: Strength 36, Agility 28, Armor 40, Speed 36. The Dragon Rider Mech uses the KLB-3 macro-controlled nuclear fusion engine removed from William Krupp's Hellraven Mech. Hao Cheng's Monkey King Mech is equipped with the Dragon Core V engine seized from the BUU Pirates headquarters. Krupp Industries engine has a higher output power, while Tang Dynasty Group's Dragon Core V has more stable performance. That's why Xia Xingchen made such a choice. The two mechas are stored in the Mecha warehouse of the Mecha laboratory, which is safer here. In addition, a nuclear engine of the Dragon Core V Mecha is saved. Xia Xingchen plans to install it on the White Death after Polo returns. As for Yugo and his Terami warrior, Xia Xingchen does not plan to install a nuclear engine on it now. Because its operation mode is to simulate the operating system, the power output of the nuclear engine is too large, and it may tire the Mecha Master to death. Xia Xingchen plans to find a more reliable plan when he has more time in the future. In recent days, the two princesses of the Galaxy Empire are very anxious, because in a few days, it will be the 18th birthday of Princess Crossing Xingchen. According to the tradition of the royal family, a grand coming-of-age ceremony will be held for Xingchen on that day. This should be a happy and joyful thing, but the two princesses are very anxious now, because they got a bad news. Gao Wanzhong, the deputy prime minister of the empire, will ask for marriage from Emperor Xingchen of the empire at the coming-of-age ceremony of Princess Crossing. Speaking of this deputy prime minister of the empire, he is a favorite in front of Emperor Xingchen. This person's ability is very average, but he is very good at flattering and forming cliques. He often flatters Emperor Xingchen with his untraceable flattery method, so that he doesn't know his last name. But the most hateful thing is that he is the only minister among all the officials of the empire who supports Prince Nicholas. He will jump out to oppose any proposal against Prince Nicholas and make excuses for Nicholas. This was very pleasing to His Majesty the Emperor. Emperor Xingchen also promoted him and used him as a pawn to fight against the ministers on the issue of Nicholas. Moreover, birds of a feather flock together. Gao Wanzhong also gathered a large group of jesters who were good at flattering inside and outside the court, forming a small group with considerable power. In the eyes of these people, the life and death of the empire and the dignity of the royal family are not important. As long as they can get promoted and make money, there is nothing that cannot be sold. If Prince Nicholas can give them higher official positions, they can overthrow the emperor of the empire at any time. And every year, Prince Nicholas will inject a large amount of money into their secret accounts as a reward for their support for Nicholas in the court. In recent years, the old prime minister of the empire, K, has been old and cannot do many things personally, so the voice of changing the prime minister has been heard from time to time in the court. And if the prime minister is changed, it is very likely that this deputy prime minister Gao Wanzhong will take over. Therefore, many people call for him to take over. Gao Wanzhong has two sons. The eldest son, Gao Mangxiang, is 25 years old and is the captain of a medium-sized cruiser in the 4th Fleet of the Empire. The younger son, Gao Yingxiang, is 20 years old and is studying at the Royal Military Academy. The two look good overall and have a lot of titles, but the kids in the circle know that these two are just rotten inside. Their seemingly glamorous honors and titles were obtained by relying on the shadow of their family, and they are not real talents at all. Moreover, in private, these two people have done a lot of bad things to harm civilians and bully men and women. The two princesses know that, since Emperor Xingchen trusts and likes Gao Wanzhong very much, if Gao Wanzhong proposes to both princesses at the coming-of-age ceremony, then His Majesty the Emperor is very likely to agree to one of the marriages, whether for the sake of face or to avoid discouraging the enthusiasm of his subordinates. Although His Majesty the Emperor promised Princess Crossing that she could decide her own marriage, it is very likely that he will agree to the marriage between Princess Yu and Gao Mangxiang. Both princesses knew what kind of people these two brothers were, and Qinjana was unwilling to let her sister marry Gao Mangxiang. Sister, what should we do? If father really gets carried away and agrees, he will push you into a fire pit. But if I refuse in front of father, it will be a great blow to father's face, and also a blow to the face of the royal family. King Fengzhi was worried. If we have a very legitimate reason, can we refuse father without hurting his face too much? Princess Crossing asked. King Fengzhi nodded. Qinjana continued, I have decided to use the princess and knight clause. In this way, even if father wants to agree to the surname Gao, there is nothing he can do. Then we will collect the evil deeds of the two brothers afterwards, and let the grandfathers of the elders council give them to father. I think father will understand our approach after seeing the bad deeds of the Gao brothers, and the elders council will not allow the princess of the empire to marry such two things. King Fengzhi thought for a while and said, the princess and knight clause is the princess's oath. Zinger, you should think about it. After making this oath, you and I can only find a partner among our knights. So what? I'm willing to marry a real knight, and I don't want to marry a dandy boy. Qinjana said firmly. But we don't have a knight yet. Sister, don't worry, you can find those two guys to pretend. Saying that they are knights, no one can question it. Besides, who will be the knight is still the princess herself who has the final say. I'll think about it again. Princess Yu hesitated. Sister, the man in your heart is qualified to be your knight. Aren't you tempted? Qinjana said with a smile. The weekend is here, and Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng received an invitation from the two princesses to a banquet in the palace. Hao Cheng looked miserable, and Xia Xingchen frowned. He felt that something might happen, because they had been meeting in the commercial street recently. After dinner, the two followed the two princesses into the study. The thick solid wood door was closed, and the four people began a secret meeting. Qinjana explained their predicament in detail, hoping that Xia Xingchen and the other two could temporarily pretend to be their knights at the coming of age ceremony. Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng immediately said that this was their unshakable responsibility, just like standing up for their friends, and they would help to the end, even if it meant going through fire and water. Chapter 177 The Princess Coming of Age Ceremony. It was a sunny morning, and the square in front of the palace was tense and busy. Hao Cheng and Xia Xingchen, as the princess's knights, drove the mecha to the palace yesterday. They will join the princess's guards in the ceremony of adulthood. The viewing platform in front of him was crowded with guests. The Emperor Qinzheng and the Queen, two princes, two princesses, cabinet ministers, and major military generals gathered together. Representatives from all walks of life in the Milky Way and major interstellar consortiums also sent representatives. All the guests were dressed up. Princess Qinfengzhi of the Moon wore a white princess dress and a white princess crown with a crescent shape on her head, while the protagonist of today, Princess Qinjana, wore a yellow dress. She was like the brightest star in the Milky Way, shining and dazzling. There were various ceremonies in front, including the marching performance of the guards and grand song and dance performances. After the performance, it was the speech of the Emperor Qinzheng of the Empire. Today, here, my beloved little daughter Qinjana has finally grown up, and I'm relieved. I'm here to put on the princess's crown for her, and I hope she can be happy. Warm applause rang out from the audience, and at this time a royal palace ceremonial officer held a tray. Inside the tray was a golden princess's crown with a shining golden star on it. Emperor Qinzheng lifted the princess's crown and put it on the head of Princess Zinger of the Empire. Applause rang out again, and the flashlights of various media in the distance flashed into a piece. Qinzheng said with emotion, I don't know which boy will be so lucky to marry my precious daughter. Then began a grand banquet, which was in the form of a buffet. The two princesses were surrounded by young talents, and could not get away for a while. Fortunately, the two knights stayed with them, and drove away many flies for them. Hao Cheng and Xia Xingchen both wore specially customized red night dresses today, looking heroic. However, the two received countless hateful eyes in just a short while. The Emperor Qinzheng and the Empress were surrounded by a group of ministers, who toasted the Emperor frequently according to their status. Of course, His Majesty the Emperor only took a sip and stopped there. At this time, it was the turn of the Vice Prime Minister Gao Wanzhang to toast. He clinked glasses with the emperor, raised his head, and drank the Antarctic star red wine in the glass. Emperor Qinzheng also took a sip to show his respect. Gao Wanzhang took the opportunity to say, "Your Majesty's 2 pairs of children are very enviable. Princess Crossing and Princess Yu are now at the age of choosing a husband. I wonder what your Majesty's plans are. A gentleman loves a beautiful lady. As long as young talents have ideals, abilities, and good conduct, they are qualified to pursue the princess. I wonder if Lord Gao has any suitable candidates to recommend to me," Qinzheng said with a smile. Gao Wanzhang saw the opportunity and immediately took advantage of it. He said, "Your Majesty, I dare to recommend my 2 sons to you. My eldest son, Gao Mangxiang, is about the same age as Princess Yu. He is currently serving in the army and has made many military achievements. My second son, Gao Yingxiang, is 1 year older than Princess Crossing and is currently a top student at the Royal Military Academy. He wins many awards at school every year. They have long admired the 2 princesses. I'm willing to risk my reputation and heir to ask your Majesty to marry the 2 princesses to my 2 sons." As soon as he said this, the scene suddenly became silent, and the murderous eyes of the ministers shot over. If eyes could kill, Gao Wanzhang would have turned into ashes by now. This. Qinzheng hesitated. Although he liked Gao Wanzhang very much, he didn't know his son well. Moreover, he couldn't decide Princess Crossing's marriage, and as a father, he didn't want to marry his daughter off rashly. Even if it was an exchange of interests, as a father, he still hoped that his daughter would be happy. However, Gao Wanzhang had already thrown his words here, and it seemed that he had offended all the ministers. If Emperor Qinzheng rejected him at this time, it would be a slap in the face. He also felt the unfriendly eyes of the ministers. If he did not support Gao Wanzhang now, how could he rely on him to check and balance the ministers in the future? Qinzheng was in a dilemma. He thought about it and said, "You all know that I promised Xing'er that she would decide her own marriage. Similarly, I want to do the same for Fengjia. I will give these 2 guys a chance. I will introduce them to Xing'er and Jua, but whether it will work depends on the attitudes of my 2 precious daughters." "Thank you, your Majesty. These 2 are my sons. Gao Mangxiang meets your Majesty. Gao Yingxiang meets your Majesty. These 2 people are as handsome as their father, and they give people a very good first impression." The first time Emperor Qinzheng met them, he saw that they were both talented and liked them very much. But, very good young people. Qinzheng praised, and the 2 became even more complacent. But at this time, the young people in the palace hall were not convinced. They knew very well the details of the 2 people in front of them. The second Prince Qinyuan, who had a bad temper, even wanted to draw his sword and rush up to kill the father and son. He was held tightly by his eldest brother Qinwei. His companions next to him also came up to comfort him. Qinzheng ordered people to call the 2 princesses and introduced the Gao father and son to them, and also told them about the plans of the Gao father and son. He asked the 2 daughters what they thought. At this time, the focus of the whole audience was on the 2 princesses, and the band stopped. People held their breath, looking forward to the answers of the 2 princesses. Several reporters interviewing on the scene also pointed their cameras at the 2 princesses. Princess Yukin Fengjia straightened the princess crown on her head, saluted everyone around her, and said, "I, Princess Yukin Fengjia of the Galactic Empire, hereby declare that I will follow the will of the Qin ancestors and use my life to protect the oath of the princess and the knight until death." As soon as the voice fell, Qinjana also stepped forward and said loudly, "I, the Imperial Star Princess Qinjana, also declare here that I will follow the will of the Qin family's ancestors and use my life to protect the oath of the princess and the knight until death." The hall of the palace suddenly exploded. People talked about it, and suddenly someone took the lead in applauding. People turned their heads and saw that it was the 2 princes who took the lead in applauding. Qinwei and Qinyuan doted on their 2 sisters. After hearing the choices of the 2 princesses, they were sincerely happy. But at this time, His Majesty the Emperor's face was very ugly. He thought that his obedient and sensible eldest daughter would understand what he meant and agree, but who knew that this would be the result. Chapter 178 Rejection. Gao Wanzhang's face was as red as a monkey's ass. This was simply a naked slap in the face, and it was very loud. His 2 sons were like losing their parents. The other ministers were very happy. Speaking of the story of the oath between the princess and the knight, almost everyone in the Galaxy Empire knew it. In the past, there was a princess named Kinmaya in the Galaxy Empire. She was truly in love with the Guardian Knight under her command. But the old emperor at that time did not attach much importance to the rule of the princess's Guardian Knight. In the eyes of the old emperor, it was just a game of playing house with the princess. The happiness of the princess was not as important as political interests. So, the old emperor took the opportunity to send the knight to the battlefield and then forced his daughter to marry the son of a powerful official. At the wedding ceremony, Princess Kinmaya committed suicide in front of tens of thousands of guests. Before she died, she said in front of everyone, "I, the Imperial Sunny Star Princess Kinmaya, also declare here that I will follow the will of the Kin family ancestors and use my life to protect the oath of the princess and the knight until death." The death of the princess shocked the entire Galaxy Empire. People condemned the old emperor's selfish behavior and praised Princess King's loyalty to love and oath. The old emperor was also deeply shocked and abdicated. A few months later, the princess's knight rushed back from the battlefield and committed suicide in front of the princess's tombstone. The behavior of the princess and the knight moved everyone in the Galactic Empire. In order to avoid the tragedy from happening again, and to commemorate his sister, the new emperor of the empire at that time formulated such an ancestral precept: as long as the princess of the empire made the princess and the knight's oath to the knight on a formal occasion, no one could interfere with the marriage of the princess and the knight, and the princess spouse can only be found from their guardian knight. This oath is protected by the laws of the Galactic Empire, and even the emperor of the empire cannot interfere. The 2 princesses took out the princess's oath to express their attitude, which completely shattered the crooked thoughts of some people, and even the residents of the empire who watched the live broadcast of the princess's coming of age ceremony in front of the TV, and in the square cheered. "Lord Gao, the 2 princesses have already made their choice. I really can't do anything about it. It seems that the 2 gentlemen have to work hard to become the princess's guardian knights. I'm unwilling to give up. I want to challenge you." Gao Mengxiang, who was standing aside, took off his white gloves and threw them at Hao Cheng's feet. He felt that it was because of Hao Cheng that the princess didn't want to pay attention to him. He felt that Hao Cheng was powerless and decided to take it out on him. Hao Cheng was not good at talking. Seeing the other party's provocation, he glared at him. "Why, coward, you don't dare anymore, right? You should withdraw quickly and give up the position of the princess's guardian knight." Gao Mengxiang was extremely arrogant. He forgot how he achieved his so-called achievements. Hao Cheng looked at Princess Yu, whose face was pale with anger. "Knight Hao Cheng, he is insulting the dignity of the princess of the empire. How can the dignity of the guardian knight be tarnished by people like him? I authorize you to punish him and help me get my dignity back." "As you wish, my princess," Hao Cheng said, looking at Gao Mengxiang. "How do you want to compete? Mech battle or hand-to-hand combat?" "Of course it's a mech battle. Life and death battle. How about it?" The 4th fleet of the Galactic Empire, where Gao Mengxiang is located, is almost the worst fleet in the Galactic Empire. Because there are so many people with connections in the management of this fleet, the 4th fleet is almost the most ideal place for these people with connections to gild themselves. Gao Mengxiang has a record of destroying enemy mechas more than a dozen times with his mechas. But this record is very exaggerated. When Gao Mengxiang joined the army, Gao Wanshang spent nearly 10 billion to customize a private mech for him, armed to the teeth with nuclear engines, red light thrusters, etc. From then on, Gao Mengxiang was so arrogant that he didn't know his own last name. On this occasion today, he actually challenged Hao Cheng regardless of anything. It's just that Gao Yingxiang and Gao Wanshang next to him were scared out of their wits. They both knew the strength of Hao Cheng, the new champion of the Shineyu and Star Mech fighting competition. But unfortunately, words that have been spoken cannot be taken back. "I accept your challenge. Mech battle or hand-to-hand combat?" Hao Cheng asked. "Of course it's a mecha battle. Mecha battle is fine, but I want to fight to the death," Hao Cheng said bitterly. At this time Gao Wanshang suddenly came up. My son is ignorant. I'm here to apologize to Princess Yuan Knight Hao Cheng on his behalf." As he said, he bowed deeply. "Father, what are you doing?" Gao Manxiang was still unyielding. Gao Wanshang turned around and slapped him in the face. This time it was so hard that blood came out from the corner of his mouth. "Shut up, you disgrace. Come home with me." As he said this, he pulled Gao Manxiang up and turned to leave. The choice of the two princesses quickly spread throughout the Galactic Empire, and the people were proud of their choice. Moreover, there was a sudden wave of joining the army and applying for military academies among the people, and countless young talents tried their best to attract the favor of the princesses. They also wanted to become the princesses' guardian knights, hoping to marry the beauties one day. That night, on Xianyuan Star, at the residence of the Vice Prime Minister of the Empire, Gao Manxiang knelt on the ground, and on the chair opposite him sat the Vice Prime Minister of the Empire, Gao Wanshang, and next to him, his younger brother Gao Yingxiang stood aside with his head down, not knowing what he was thinking. Gao Manxiang's cheeks were swollen like a pig's head at this time. He looked aggrieved. "Do you know why I hit you?" Gao Wanshang scolded his son. "I was too impulsive." "Bullshit. Is it as simple as being impulsive? Have you forgotten all the things I taught you before? First, I taught you that no matter what opponent you face, you must know yourself and the enemy, so that you can be invincible. Only when you know the difference between your opponent and you choose the right way to defeat him. Do you know who your opponent is? If you duel with him, you will die. That guy is the champion of this year's Xianyuan Star Mecha fighting competition and the last disciple of the Imperial Knight Master Bell. His mecha level is far higher than that of ordinary sea level mecha masters. You want to fight him? Second, you are a little too proud of yourself. Don't you know how you got those military merits and titles? You take them seriously? Have you lived enough? Your mecha is very powerful, enough to bully a few star pirates, but Hao Cheng's mecha performance is not worse than yours. Third, I taught you that a real man can bend and stretch, but you are full of lust and get angry easily. You challenged in front of so many people without considering the consequences. My political enemies are all laughing. They all hope that you will die in the duel. Gao Manxiang was very depressed. Under the packaging and pursuit of his family over the years, he developed an arrogant personality. As a result, he became the laughing stock of the entire Galactic Empire in one day. His mind is already a mess. No matter what Gao Wanshang said, he couldn't listen. 2 days later, Gao Manxiang took a long sick leave. His face was swollen, and he began to hang out in the bars of Xianyuan Star, and started a life of drunkenness and dreams. On this day, in the evening, Gao Manxiang came to the nightclub again. He ordered a few bottles of liquor, and sat alone at the table drinking. At this time, a blonde woman came from the opposite side. The woman was tall and her eyes showed all kinds of charm. Gao Manxiang was instantly attracted to her. The two chatted enthusiastically. This beautiful woman was named Angelica, and she was a student at the Imperial Military Command Academy. The two of them toasted each other, and soon kissed passionately. Then, the two went to get a room together. Chapter 179 Action Preparation. Angelica woke up. She went to the shower room, and washed her body vigorously, trying to make herself clean. She didn't want to do such a thing, but in order to be with Prince Nicholas, she had to do it. Thinking of Prince Nicholas, a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. She recalled the days she spent with Nicholas 2 months ago. Angelica returned to Siberia during the holiday, and Prince Nicholas received her. She expressed her admiration for Nicholas at the banquet. Nicholas favored her, and the two spent more than a month of happy days together. Angelica also turned from a girl into a woman. How she hoped that such days could last forever. However, Prince Nicholas told her that his great cause had not been completed, and they could not be together before he unified the Galactic Empire. In order to achieve this goal, as soon as possible, he needed Angelica's help. If necessary, she even needed to sell her body. As long as she could help Nicholas achieve his goal, Nicholas would not despise her. Angelica resolutely returned to Xianyuan Star under Nicholas's deception, looking for opportunities. However, after returning, she found that the situation seemed very bad. The power of the North in the school was almost uprooted, and the remaining people were also closely monitored by a certain organization. so she tried to find opportunities outside the Imperial Military Academy. That day, she watched the coming of age ceremony of Princess Crossing on TV and learned about what happened at the banquet later. She became interested in Gao Mengxiang. First of all, Gao Mengxiang was arrogant and proud. At this time, he was at his most vulnerable psychologically when he suffered such a blow. Such people are most easily controlled. Second, Gao Mengxiang's father was the vice prime minister of the empire and was bribed by Nicholas, so it was not easy for him to be alert to this matter. Otherwise, for those high-ranking officials of the empire, it was a very dangerous thing for their children to associate with beautiful women from the north at this time, and they would definitely do their best to obstruct it. Third, she needed to get a powerful mecha on Xia Star, which was unrealistic on Xia Star through smuggling and other channels. Only these, with personal mechas with very superior performance, can find a way to trick the mechas into their hands, use the mechas to complete assassination and other tasks, and then put the blame on these second generations, which can further cause turmoil in the empire. Gao Mengxiang just meets these conditions, so he became Angelica's target. At this time, Gao Mengxiang had woken up. He saw the graceful figure in the bathroom and rushed in with a strange cry. Another half a month passed, and Perlo came back. He drove a cargo spaceship all the way to Xia Star alone. Xia Xingchen went to the Canal space station to meet Perlo. There were two mechas in the cargo hold of his spaceship. One was a Black Duke mecha and the other was a White Death mecha. In order to facilitate entering and leaving Xia Star, Xia Xingchen asked Daren to apply for a work visa, because as a technician of the 1524 Mecha Club, he had to leave Xia Star every week to pick up goods at the parts factory of Tang Dynasty Company. With a visa, he can travel freely to Xia Star without having to go through inspection every time. Xia Xingchen took the two mechas to the secret mecha laboratory for modification twice. The White Reaper mecha was equipped with the Dragon Core V nuclear engine and red light thruster, as well as the light shield system and the mental shield system. It was also equipped with a more powerful mecha laser sniper rifle, and its endurance was further enhanced. The Black Duke mecha was replaced with a red light engine, a mecha laser sniper rifle and a mirage system. Xia Xingchen put the Black Duke into his personal mecha space. Perlo came for two purposes. First, to modify the mecha. Second, to train Xia Xingchen in assassination, sniping and other skills. Perlo also brought Xia Xingchen two of Free's latest appearance camouflage devices, and gave one to Xia Xingchen. In the living room of Black Hole number 1, Perlo was giving Xia Xingchen a lesson. Xingchen, you have a good grasp of the knowledge in the book. I don't have anything to tell you. The rest is practice. Do you need me to accompany you? No need. We have never cooperated before. It would be dangerous to act together, Ashley. I'd better do it by myself. I think at least there will be no problem in escaping. He was telling the truth, and if Perlo was with him, he would not be able to use the portable mecha space. This is the target information of Xia Star region and several surrounding star regions. You can take a look. Among these people, there are military personnel, big businessmen, big miners, slave traders and even many media people. Some of these people are Nicholas's financial backers, some are his mouthpieces, and some are the nails he planted. Xia Xingchen took the list and frowned. There are thousands of names on it. The targets are divided into 5 levels, S, A, B, C, and D according to the difficulty and importance. Why are there so many? Seeing that there are so many people in Xia Star region who are colluding with the North, Xia Xingchen seemed a little worried. These are just a small part. This list is mainly the overlap between our own list and the list sent by the Imperial Intelligence Department. The number of people on the two lists combined is 3 or 4 times that of this list, and they are still being screened one by one. You have a job to do, Perlo said. Then what are you going to do? Same as you, but I have more goals. I will mainly clear out the scum in the border areas. Just you? No, after handing over to you, I will go to the north to pick up a navigator. My spaceship has been specially modified with 4 laser main guns and a mirage system. The power plant is the same as Black Hole number 1, and the speed is super fast. I plan to use it for guerrilla warfare. Perlo said. Good luck, Perlo. Same to you, Xingchen. Chapter 180 Assassination. Xianwei Star is a planet with a very superior natural environment. It belongs to the Xianyuan Star region. There are countless high-end hotels and resorts on this planet. The first target Xia Xingchen chose was a slave trader. He abducted a large number of people from various planets in the Galactic Empire every year and sold them to the North as slaves. Nicholas liked to use this cheap labor very much. Xia Xingchen hated such people very much because many minors around him were abducted by these human traffickers. At this time, this human trafficker was celebrating his birthday in a famous resort hotel on Xianwei Star. Xia Xingchen activated the camouflage device and sneaked in quietly. The main dish of today's banquet is a rare bluefin shark. Bluefin sharks are a kind of fish unique to Xianwei Star. They can only grow to 2 meters long at most and are very rare. The most valuable part of the bluefin shark is its roe. The roe produced by an adult bluefin shark is only as big as a walnut. This kind of fish roe is very delicious, but because the output is too rare, only the most distinguished guests are qualified to enjoy it. At this time, the hotel's kitchen is busy and the dishes are about to be served. Xia Xingchen sneaked into the kitchen. His latest camouflage device is very powerful. It is a glasses-like device that can quickly scan the appearance of the person in front of it and store it in the computer. It can also be called up at any time to change into the appearance of this person. Xia Xingchen knocked out a cleaner, stuffed him into a trash can, and swaggered into the kitchen. Then he transformed himself into a chef and walked into the kitchen naturally while no one was paying attention. At this time, the bluefin shark had been cooked into dishes. One of the main dishes was called 2 dragons playing with pearls. It was made by cutting the meat from the bluefin shark into thin slices and eating it directly. The sliced shark meat was arranged into the shape of 2 dragons, and at the position of the 2 dragon heads, there was a reddish brown bead the size of a walnut. This bead is a small ball of bluefin shark roe. This fish roe is prepared for the protagonist of today's birthday party. At this time, the waiters began to serve the dishes. Xia Xingchen pretended to pass by the waiter and patted him on the shoulder with his left hand. When the waiter looked back, Xia Xingchen quickly stretched out his right hand, holding a macro sprayer, and quietly sprayed the fish roe. "Oh, sorry, I recognized the wrong person. I thought you were Andy," Xia Xingchen explained. "Psycho, do you know how much this fish costs? If you damage it, you can't afford to pay for it," the waiter complained dissatisfiedly. Xia Xingchen put the sprayer back into the portable mecha space and left quickly. The atmosphere in the banquet hall has reached a climax. At this time, the music stopped abruptly, and the slave trader gave an enthusiastic speech. At this time, the door of the banquet hall opened, and the waiter pushed up the plate of 2 dragons playing with pearls with a dining cart, and came to the slave trader. The slave trader picked up the spoon, scooped up the ball of fish roe and ate it. Applause broke out at the scene. However, his expression was not as intoxicated and enjoyable as that of ordinary people eating fish roe. Instead, he was very painful. His eyes rolled up, and he suddenly died of bleeding from all 7 orifices. Screams were heard at the scene, and the guests were in a mess. The medical staff rushed to check the body and shook their heads. The police quickly blocked the hotel, and Xia Xingchen had already driven the magnetic levitation car stored in his personal mecha space to the next city. Sari Island is the best tourist destination on Xianwei Star. A fat and greasy businessman was sunbathing on the private beach here. 2 beauties were giving him a massage. There were hundreds of guards and 4 mechas on the entire beach. The mecha masters were all D-level mecha masters, and the guards here were strict. The scorching sun shone on his face, and the fat pig-like businessman felt very comfortable. This fat man was in the flesh trade, and he had his high-end entertainment venues on most populous planets. At the same time, he was one of Nicholas's sponsors. War is very deadly to businessmen, but not to those ambitious businessmen who are eager to reshuffle and dominate the market. He was thinking about how to get more benefits from Nicholas. This collaborator is not a good kid. It is not easy to take advantage of him without any damage. Suddenly, a flash of purple flashed before his eyes. He was very curious, but the next moment, a burning purple laser passed through his body, and he turned into ash. In the blink of an eye, 4 more lasers hit the target, and the 4 mechas that were doing security work on the beach were hit in the vitals and lost their ability to move. Xia Xingchen opened the thrusters and flew into the air. Then he flew towards the land at high speed and immediately turned on the Mirage system. The Black Duke mecha disappeared from the satellite surveillance network of Xianwei Star in an instant. He carefully parked the mecha in a remote forest, and after using the inside skill to confirm that there was no one else around, he got off and put the mecha back into the portable mecha space and drove away in the maglev car. In just one weekend, 2 days, Xia Xingchen carried out 8 assassinations on Xianwei Star, killing 1 A-level target and 7 B-level targets. He followed Perlo's advice and did not repeat the methods of committing each case. This was too easy for Xia Xingchen, who had inside skills and a portable mecha space. Most of the people Xia Xingchen killed had offended countless enemies. They had no connection with each other, and their collusion with Mechas was also carried out in secret. The police believed that this was an individual case of vendetta. But the intelligence department of the Galactic Empire knew very well that someone had taken action against the North. However, they welcomed this action against the North. Xia Xingchen returned to Xianwei Star and sat in the classroom honestly. Most of the courses he took recently were related to campaign and tactical command, as well as space battleship command. These courses cannot be solved by memorizing books and memorizing battle examples. Although it was enough to cope with the exam, Xia Xingchen still decided to attend the class. The instructors who taught these courses at the Imperial Military Command Academy were instructors and captains with rich experience in frontline combat command. They could draw inferences from an ordinary battle example in the book, based on the different forms of the actual battlefield, and they would also point out what was outdated or wrong in the book. Xia Xingchen felt that he benefited a lot. However, every time he went to class, Zhang Yingying would always come over to attend class with him, and the two would study and discuss the content of the class together after class. Xia Xingchen's behavior attracted the hateful eyes of all male creatures, but he himself was completely unaware. When he went to the store to repair the mecha at night, no matter what he did, Li Qiru followed him closely, not leaving his side. Chapter 181 General Zhang Yuan. When I returned to my room at night, several roommates were there. They were sitting in the living room chatting. Xingchen, you are a celebrity now. Dayren was fiddling with the reader and browsing the news on the campus network, saying, that's right, Xingchen is now the public enemy of all the boys in the college. Hans had just been freed from the brutal physical training, and he lost more than 30 pounds in a month. Yes, my sister Qiui is very unhappy now, and she takes it out on me all day long. Li Xiaomin also came to join in the fun. What does this have to do with me? Xia Xingchen was a little confused. Dayren projected the contents of the reader in his hand onto the big screen on the wall, and one by one the posts came into view. The little princess of the First Fleet competes with Princess Crossing for the Guardian Knight public enemy Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen, you have tarnished the title of knight. I want to duel with you. Exclusive news. Xia Xingchen and Zhang Yingying went on a trip together. Xia Xingchen was very helpless. Zhang Yingying and I are just ordinary friends. We went to experience together during the holiday. Hao Cheng was also there. Nothing happened between us. If you don't believe me, go ask Hao Cheng. Oh, ordinary friends. Here is the silver in the silver. Several bad friends looked at each other and smiled evilly. You guys. Xia Xingchen was completely speechless. Oh, by the way, Dayren, is there any news from the north recently? Xia Xingchen remembered the business and asked. The forces from the north have been basically eliminated in our school, but according to reliable information, some girls from the north have hooked up with the second generation rich kids from the Royal Military Academy. This situation deserves our special attention. I will find a way to arrange people to infiltrate there. Dayren said. Xia Xingchen frowned. Those second generation rich kids are quite powerful. Once they are controlled or held hostage by the north, the harm caused will be even greater. It is necessary to remind those masters to discipline their children well. Yes, I'm working on this. The Imperial Military Conference held every 3 years is about to be held. At that time, the military generals and the heads of the major fleets will gather on Xianwei Star. This security work is really a big problem. Oh, I'm worried. Dayren said leisurely. A few days later, a space shuttle painted with the logo of the First Fleet landed at the landing base in the military zone of Xia Star. A general in his 50s walked out of it. He was Zhang Yingying's father, Admiral Zhang Yuan, the commander of the First Fleet of the Galactic Empire. His office is in the First Fleet base on January 6th. In the past 6 months, the First Fleet has just completed its routine strategic cruise mission and returned to Xia Star. The so-called strategic cruise refers to the fleet of the Galactic Empire patrolling in its respective jurisdiction at regular intervals. Most combat units must participate, and the patrol routes even include many remote waterways. The purpose of doing this is to test the training results of the troops and to increase the proficiency of coordinated operations of various departments. The third is to be familiar with the changes in waterways and celestial borders in the defense zone. In addition, if they pass through areas where star pirates frequently appear, they can also use star pirates to train their troops. The route of the First Fleet's strategic cruise this time almost went around the border of the entire northern administrative region. This kind of show of force made Nicholas very helpless. Now, the Imperial military meeting, held every 3 years, is about to be held. Admiral Zhang Yuan rushed back to attend the meeting after completing the strategic cruise. Zhang Yuan walked out of the cabin and saw his daughter and wife coming to greet him. Admiral Zhang Yuan has a son and a daughter. His son Zhang Lingwu is a SEAL level mecha master who is brave and is just in his early 20s. However, this son is only interested in mechas, and he doesn't care about fleets and tactical commands. He can be said to be a brave but foolish guy. He is determined to become an S-class mecha division. The genes of the old Zhang family in combat command are all inherited by his daughter Zhang Yingying. In order to train his son, Zhang Yuan did not let his son work under his own command, but kicked him to the mecha landing commando of the 7th Fleet, which is almost always in a state of war. In Zhang Yuan's words, only in the real war can the best soldiers be trained. Father, Zhang Yingying ran over. The father and daughter hugged each other. Let me see our little princess. She has become beautiful again. I heard that you went to experience during the holidays. What did you gain? Also, do you have a boyfriend? Admiral Zhang Yuan popped out a bunch of questions that Zhang Yingying couldn't handle. Father, how long can you stay this time? About a month, at least after the Imperial Military Conference. It is estimated that this time may be longer, and we should be able to start military deployment against Nicholas. Let's go home first and talk slowly. The family of 3 took the maglev car back home. After dinner, the father and daughter came to the study, and Zhang Yingying told her father about her experience of going out for training during the holiday. When Admiral Zhang Yuan heard that it was them who rescued William Krupp, he was so surprised that he couldn't speak. Zhang Yingying talked about every detail of the journey, of course, mainly about Xia Xingchen. Admiral Zhang Yuan heard some clues. It turned out that his daughter might have fallen in love with this young man. He was also very interested in Xia Xingchen. He contacted his adjutant and asked him to send Xia Xingchen's information. Not long after, the information was transmitted, and Admiral Zhang Yuan frowned. His adjutant's authority could not see most of Xia Xingchen's information. He could only use his own authority to log into the system to see Xia Xingchen's complete file. This guy is a genius. He was promoted from a minor to a captain of the Empire in 3 years. He is also a C-class mecha master and a senior mecha maintenance technician. Your brother must feel inferior when he sees him. Moreover, this little guy is simply Nicholas' nemesis. Even if the 4th Fleet of the Empire is sent out, it can't cause such great damage. Zhang Yuan sighed. Only such an outstanding young man can conquer my daughter. Zhang Yingying was very happy to hear her father's praise. Oh, by the way, daughter, how are you doing with the matter of poaching people from the Imperial Military Command Academy? Zhang Yuan asked. There are many new students in this class. There are many good seedlings, but I only found Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng among the top ones. I set up an organization called First Fleet Staff, which attracted more than 500 outstanding students to join. We also often hold sand table simulations, simulated wars and other activities. If nothing unexpected happens, they will all be members of our First Fleet. You should know that your daughter is quite charming. Do these people include Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng? Admiral Zhang Yuan's words were like a basin of cold water poured over Zhang Yingjing's head. No, Xingchen and I are just ordinary friends now. The Third Fleet will never let such a talent go. Moreover, even if he leaves the Third Fleet, he is likely to join the Royal Guard. You should know that he is the only guardian knight of Princess Crossing Kinjana. A few days ago, the princess just issued the oath of the princess and the knight. You don't even need to think about Hao Cheng. He is a member of the Holy Hall, and Hao Cheng is the guardian knight of Princess Yu. Zhang Yingjing said, pouting her lips, a little unhappy. What's wrong with the princess? My little princess is no worse than Princess Crossing. Come on, Yingjing, use your charm to snatch her away. Oh, father, you are so mean. Chapter 182. Another conspiracy. The flagship of the Third Fleet of the Galactic Empire, the heavy space carrier Thor's Hammer, docked at the Canal Space Station. The commander of the Third Fleet, Lieutenant General von Klosch, landed in the Shinewan Star military zone by shuttle. There was already a military vehicle waiting there to take him to the Imperial Marshal's mansion. He was going to meet his father, the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire, von Bismarck. The family had not been reunited for a long time. As soon as von Klosch got on the military vehicle, the communication on his personal terminal rang. He answered the call and found that the other party was Admiral Zhang Yuan. Hello, sir. Von Klosch took the initiative to greet. He is still a lieutenant general now, and according to regulations, he must greet people with higher ranks than him first. Brother, why are you being so polite to me? We both have the same position, and you will be promoted to admiral this time. Just call me brother. Zhang Yuan has a good personal relationship with Klosch. No big deal. My adjutant saw the Thor's Hammer space carrier arrive. I guess you'll be here soon. We haven't seen each other for many years. I'd like to invite you to come to my house and have a drink and discuss things in the north. Admiral Zhang Yuan made an invitation. Of course, I'll come to visit you. Do you have anything else to do? Von Klosch thought that the other party would not call just to talk about such a thing. It's like this. My precious daughter has a boyfriend in the military academy, and he is from your fleet. I want to transfer him from your fleet to avoid being assigned to different places after graduation. You know, long distance relationships are not reliable at all, and distance can't create beauty. Zhang Yuan stated his purpose. Von Klosch became alert instantly. If Zhang Yuan was talking about ordinary talents, as long as he was a high-ranking official with a high salary when he graduated, it would be difficult for students to resist the recruitment of the First Fleet. There must be some special reason. Brother Zhang, it's a great honor to be chosen by your First Fleet. Tell me, which young man in our fleet is so lucky to be chosen by your daughter? Captain Xia Xingchen of the Watchstar Garrison Fleet under your Third Fleet is him. Well, Xia Xingchen, oh, it's really inconvenient. Von Klosch was a little unhappy. The talent that I worked so hard to discover and cultivate has just emerged, and now someone comes out to steal the stick. Brother, Xia Xingchen doesn't have any position in your place. If he comes to me, I guarantee that he will be very successful. Brother Zhang, it's really not possible. Brother, please help me for my daughter's sake. Von Klosch was silent for a while and said, Xingchen is a child I brought up from Manastar. As far as I know, Xia Xingchen's girlfriend died at the hands of Nicholas, so before he takes revenge, he will not consider personal feelings. Maybe your daughter is wishful thinking. This. Admiral Zhang Yuan didn't know there were so many hidden secrets. He wanted to use his daughter's affairs to add some points, but it backfired. Brother, to tell you the truth, I'm training Xia Xingchen as my successor, including my father. He is also very optimistic about Xia Xingchen. Von Klosch finally made up his mind and rejected Zhang Yuan outright. Okay, I understand. Gao Mangxiang, the son of the Vice Prime Minister Gao Wanzhong, has been very happy recently. He is completely fascinated by the northern girl named Angelica. Not only that, Angelica also found a northern girl named Jessica, and the two of them actually served Gao Mangxiang together. In the end, the two women even seduced his younger brother Gao Yingxiang. They often found a bunch of northern blonde beauties to hold uncensored meetings with the brothers. In order to please Angelica, Gao Mangxiang would try his best to satisfy her, no matter what she asked. In particular, Angelica liked mecha very much, so he gave his personal mecha to Angelica. and his brother Gao Yingxiang's mecha also fell into the hands of the little goblin named Jessica. In order to make it convenient for the two women to play with mecha, they specially rented 2 mecha hangars in a mecha shop on the commercial street in the military zone, so that the 2 girls could play with mecha at any time. And this is exactly Angelica's real purpose. The 2 mechas of the Gao brothers are equipped with prohibited weapons such as nuclear engines, red light thrusters and plasma cannons. It is very difficult for them in the north to get these things to Xia and Star. The Imperial Military Conference is about to be held. Angelica decides to raid the conference site and cause casualties to the senior officers of the Empire, which will make the Imperial Army lose its combat effectiveness. It can severely damage the Imperial Army and buy more time for Nicholas. Jessica is also a girl who is willing to sacrifice for the North. She is very beautiful and her looks are not inferior to Angelica. The main purpose of the 2 of them is to tie up the 2 prodigal sons of the Gao family, trick them into their mechas, and then blame them after the attack. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Secret Meeting. In the secret room of the Grand Marshal's mansion, Xia and Star, the Galaxy Empire. Several people are having a meeting in the room. Among them are the Grand Marshal of the Galaxy Empire Army, von Bismarck, the Prime Minister of the Galaxy Empire, and K, the Minister of the Interior of the Galaxy Empire, De Yunfei, the Minister of Finance of the Galaxy Empire, Xia Xingchen, the Commander of the Royal Fleet, Admiral Kunming, the Commander of the First Fleet, Admiral Zhang Yuan, the Commander of the Second Fleet, Admiral Pei Xiaoyan, and the Commander of the Third Fleet. Lieutenant General von Klosch, Admiral Guiyu, the Commander of the 7th Fleet. This group of people is the backbone of the military, and they are also a group of people who stand firmly in the camp against Nicholas. The meeting was chaired by the old Prime Minister N.K., who was nearly 90 years old. He looked around, a gleam of light burst out of his eyes, and the usually lifeless breath suddenly disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a fascinating aura. It's rare that everyone can gather here. There is not much time left for us. I don't know how many people will be left when we get together next time. Xiaode, you can introduce the current situation to everyone, and everyone can also talk about how you are prepared, said the old Prime Minister N.K. Only he has the qualification to call De Yunfei Little Day. He has been the Prime Minister of the Empire for nearly 40 years, and is nearly 20 years older than De Yunfei. Of course, he has the qualification to call him that. Originally, the war could have broken out within a year, but an unexpected incident a few months ago delayed the progress of the war for another 2 years. Nicholas's paralysis plan dealt a heavy blow to the Empire, but William Krupp's escape instantly put them in a passive position. Dozens of interstellar groups broke off completely with the North, and their economic sanctions and blockades dealt a heavy blow to the North's economy and military industry. Based on the intelligence inferred from the attack on Krupp this time, we analyze that there are at least 4 fleets in the north now. The Northern Fleet, the seriously overstaffed local garrison fleets in the north, the Northern 2nd Fleet, that Nicholas is secretly building, and the fleet of second-hand battleships, that Nicholas secretly eliminated, but did not scrap. Hiss, everyone present took a breath. They originally thought that Nicholas had at most 2 fleets of troops. Now it seems that they all underestimated this powerful opponent. If Krupp had not been rescued this time, Nicholas would probably have launched an attack, as long as the Northern 2nd Fleet was built. Dayren continued, this is not over yet. Nicholas is now recruiting space pirates in various parts of the Galactic Empire and border areas. The combined strength of these forces is no less than that of a fleet. When the war breaks out, they will stab us in the back, and it will be enough to make us suffer. So how big of a challenge is the Krupp incident to the north? Marshal von Bismarck asked. According to the news from our new intelligence channel, there are a total of 4 heavy space carriers under construction, and already in use in the north. This is also the basis for our speculation that they have 4 fleets. Among them, the North Wind God has been put into active service, and is undergoing intensive sea trials. According to our intelligence personnel, the personnel on the North Wind God are frequently transferred, and there are often large-scale personnel rotations. It is suspected that the personnel are transferred to the newly built warships after training. The second space battleship is almost the same level and has just been built, but it has not formed combat effectiveness. The construction of the North's second fleet has only completed 1/3 and has stalled. At the same time, the construction of two space carriers of the same level in the secret dock in Khabarovsk has also stopped. Now, due to the lack of many core components, these warships that are being produced later can only be produced by themselves. The production progress has slowed down several times, and the performance has declined a lot. In other aspects, Nicholas has started a major personnel reorganization, transferred back many students from major military academies, and started to reorganize the forces under his command. This is not good news for us. Their combat effectiveness will be greatly improved. However, their assassination and sabotage operations in the country have been suspended. I think this is due to the pressure of public opinion. We all know that such a calm is only temporary. Okay, let's talk about your preparations for war. The old Marshal von Bismarck spoke. The First Fleet has just completed the first phase of the strategic cruise. Now if the war is postponed, we plan to do it again. This time it will be closer to actual combat. And we have to train a group of reservists. Zhang Yuan said. The Second Fleet is conducting strategic cruises in batches with the goal of personnel training and familiarizing with the routes near the Xianyuan Star region. We swear to defend the Xianyuan Star region. Admiral Pei Xiaoyuan said. The Third Fleet has just completed the strategic cruise in the west. We are conducting a live combat exercise. To be honest, the defense of the Western Administrative Region is more important than that of the Xianyuan Star region. If the Western Star region is lost, there is no need to defend Xianyuan Star. The 7th Fleet has been fighting, and we are always ready, Admiral Guayu said coolly. Admiral Qin Mingyu also said, our Royal Fleet is stepping up training and is determined to defend the security of the Xianyuan Star region. Our intelligence department has discovered a major loophole in the original intelligence system. We have decided to rebuild a new intelligence network and establish the Galactic Empire Strategic Intelligence Agency, or FSI. A lot of the intelligence this time was provided by them. In addition, our partners have begun assassination and harassment battles against the North. De Yunfei talked about the arrangements of the intelligence department. The last speaker was Yao Yuanqing, the Minister of Finance. He smiled bitterly and said, the empire has been in deficit for 2 consecutive years, and this year it will be even worse. In short, I will risk my life to complete the task of raising funds. You guys just need to win. The old Prime Minister N.K. said, leave the affairs of the court to me. You can do it with confidence. I will never let anyone hold me back. Unfortunately, our emperor trusts Nicholas too much. The authorities are confused. Mingyu, please inform the Royal Elders Council of this information in time. Yes, Prime Minister. The Elders Council knows it. Qin Mingyu replied. The Elders Council has reached a consensus on this matter. If Emperor Qinzheng still insists on his mistakes, they will not rule out the process of deposing the emperor. The old Prime Minister stood up. He said, in short, the safety of the empire and the honor of the royal family are in your hands. He bowed deeply and turned to leave. Looking at the old Prime Minister's bent back and lonely back, everyone in the room was silent. After a long time, Admiral Guayu broke the silence. I heard that the one who rescued William Krupp this time was a young man named Xia Xingchen. I seem to have heard his name many times. Is it the same person? De Yunfei nodded. Yes, this kid is only 18 years old, a military school student. Think about what we were doing when we were 18 years old. Admiral Guayu said again, Marshal, let's discuss something. Don't waste such a good seedling. Send him to our 7th Fleet for a good training. Dream on, that guy is my daughter's boyfriend, so naturally he has to come to my 1st Fleet. Admiral Zhang Yuan was not happy when he heard it. Don't even think about it. Princess Crossing's guardian knight must join the Royal Fleet. Qin Mingyu was not happy either and stood up excitedly. Come to the 1st Fleet. Come to the 7th Fleet. Come to the Royal Fleet. The 3 people quarreled with red faces. Marshal, please give us your judgment. Zhang Yuan said to Marshal von Bismarck. The Grand Marshal was somewhat speechless. He saw that his generals were fighting for their favorite toys like children. Should you ask for the opinion of Xia Xingchen's superiors? Everyone remembered this matter and looked at von Krausch. Haha, I don't agree. But if someone can exchange it for a heavy space carrier, I can consider it. A bunch of people suddenly fell silent. Xingchen is a treasure of our third fleet. If you want to poach him without paying a price, it's impossible. Chapter 184 Invitation. Seeing that the weekend was coming, Xia Xingchen returned to the dormitory early and took out the latest intelligence sent by Yazzie to see if there were any other targets around Shineyu and Star. He planned to use the weekend to get rid of a few more people. At this time, someone knocked on the door. He opened the door, and it turned out to be Hans Grandit. "What's the matter, Hans?" Hans Grandit handed him a beautiful envelope with an invitation inside. Although most invitations in this era send a verification code to personal terminals, some wealthy families still like this retro traditional way. "What is this?" Xia Xingchen asked curiously. "It's the coming of age ceremony of a good friend of mine. All of us in the dormitory are invited to attend. We must bring a female companion. Is it not possible to not go?" "No, they specially invited you. And this friend is very important to me," Hans said seriously. Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly and said, "Where can I find a female companion? Is Qiuiui going?" "Yes, I can find Qiuiui. Sorry, I informed Li Xiaomin first. Qiuiui is also there. They decided to go together. You have to choose another beauty." Hans Grandit left with a smirk on his face. Xia Xingchen scratched his head in distress and thought for a long time. He finally remembered someone. So he called Zhang Yingying on his personal terminal. Soon, the call was connected, and Zhang Yingying's beautiful face appeared on the screen. "What's the matter, Xingchen?" "It just so happens that I have something to find you," Zhang Yingying said. "It's like this, Yingying. A friend of my rumored is going to hold a coming of age ceremony the day after tomorrow and invites all of us to attend. But everyone needs to bring a female companion, so haha, I also received an invitation to a coming of age ceremony and was asked to bring a male companion. I was just looking for you. I wonder if it's the same person's coming of age ceremony?" Zhang Yingying said. "Yes, Yingying, wait a moment." Xia Xingchen slapped his head. He didn't know whose coming of age ceremony he was going to attend. He quickly picked up the envelope and opened the invitation. "It's Ms. Yaoyi, right? If I remember correctly, she should be the daughter of the Minister of Finance." "Yes, come and pick me up then, Xingchen." Zhang Yingying invited. "Okay." Xia Xingchen disconnected the communication and suddenly remembered that he didn't seem to have a maglev car yet. He seemed to have been riding in other people's cars for more than a year here. As for the car in his own portable mecha space, it was a second-hand car bought casually on Shineyu Star. It was already very old, and it was already a tool for committing crimes, and could not be used. He went downstairs and saw Hans Grandit sitting in the living room. So he asked, "Hans, where can I buy a brand new maglev car? I need it the day after tomorrow." Hans thought for a moment and said, "You should go to the commercial district. There is only one second-hand maglev car store on the commercial street in our military school area. I've been there, and there's nothing good. Most of them are badly damaged. That's where the second-generation rich racers deal with scrapped vehicles." Li Xiaomin, who was sitting next to him, said, "Our Tang Dynasty group has many high-end private customized maglev car brands. You just need to submit an order, and it will be delivered to your door next week." "No, I need it the day after tomorrow and can't wait. I'll go to the commercial district tomorrow to have a look. I'll drive you there. By the way, I also want to buy a new car. The most important thing is to investigate the market there. I plan to open our first branch in the commercial district. I'm going to look for a suitable location," Hans Grandit said. Among them, only Hans and Li Xiaomin had maglev cars, while Dayren had a military one. Hans planned to put the car he was using in the store and buy another one for himself. The next day, Hans took Xia Xingchen and Li Xiaomin to the commercial district. The maglev car sped along the highway at a speed of 500 km per hour. 3 hours later, the three of them arrived at the commercial street. There was a special street for selling cars. Xia Xingchen got off the car and wandered around alone while Hans and Li Xiaomin drove to choose the address of a new store. There were hundreds of car sales stores of various brands on this street. Xia Xingchen walked around roughly and finally stopped at the door of a store. The brand sold in this store was Mercedes-Benz. More than 100 years before humans entered the space age, a man named Carl Benz was the first to invent cars powered by internal combustion engines. He later became a company specializing in the production of cars. In order to commemorate his youngest daughter Mercedes, he founded the Mercedes-Benz brand. Throughout the Earth age, Mercedes-Benz has always been one of the best car manufacturers on Earth. Later, humans entered the space age, and the car market became smaller and smaller. Mercedes-Benz was having a hard time at that time. They later switched to producing aircraft and even mechas. One or two mechas also gained a good reputation, but they were not very popular. Later, Mercedes-Benz technicians successfully produced the first application-oriented maglev car. From then on, they were back on the right track. With thousands of years of experience in automobile production, Mercedes-Benz became the #1 brand in the maglev car industry. Under the enthusiastic shopping guide of the salesperson, Xia Xingchen bought 3 maglev cars. The first one was a black luxury S6800 maglev car. This car has 3 rows of 6 seats, and the interior and appearance are very luxurious. Xia Xingchen planned to use it for transportation. The second one was a red two-seater sports car, X8800. The maximum speed of this car can reach 800 km per hour. If it is reprogrammed, it can reach a speed of 1000 km per hour. However, the laws of the Galactic Empire stipulate that the speed of maglev cars traveling on the road cannot exceed 600 km per hour. Because at this speed, the slightest mistake will result in the destruction of the car and the death of people. There is no way to save them. And the speed of nearly 1000 km per hour is unimaginable. It is close to the speed of sound. If the speed is faster, reaching 1224 km per hour, the car will be supersonic, but the body will also disintegrate in the sonic boom. The third model is a W6000 multi-purpose off-road magnetic levitation car. Its maximum speed can also reach 800 km per hour. The best thing about this car is that it is not picky about terrain and can drive on various terrains, including the sea surface and even underwater. Among the 3 cars, Xia Xingchen only applied for a license for the S6800, and he asked the staff to drive the other 2 cars to the parking lot. He took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to send the 2 cars into the portable mecha space, and the dilapidated second-hand car was thrown out by him. Chapter 185 Zhang family father and son. Xia Xingchen bought 3 maglev cars, one for himself, and the other 2, an off-road vehicle and a sports car, were stored in his personal mecha space. Since his mental power level reached level 26, he found that the volume of his personal mecha space had actually increased from the original 10-meter diameter sphere to a 11-meter diameter sphere. According to this development, can I put black hole #1 in it in the future? Xia Xingchen once fantasized about this. Later, when he thought of the huge mental power required to access black hole #1, he decisively gave up on the spot. Xia Xingchen drove around the city, and a few hours later, Hans Grandert and Li Xiaomin also came back. Hans was very arrogant and bought a Mercedes-Benz S9880, the latest model of this year. The 3 of them got into Hans's luxury maglev car, and the other 2 cars turned on the wireless control system and automatic driving system and followed behind. In the space age, driverless technology has matured. Drivers no longer have to sit in the cab. Even spaceships can be driven unmanned through personal terminals, not to mention magnetic levitation cars. As long as the driver is within 200 meters of the car, he can drive the car with a personal terminal. Xia Xingchen and Li Xiaomin sat in Han's new car. Through their personal terminals, they turned on the vehicle's automatic driving system, and the car followed steadily behind. Hans, how did you get today? Have you found a suitable place to open a store? Xia Xingchen asked. Hans shook his head. At this time, the car also set up the automatic driving system and determined the destination. The 3 of them sat in the back seat and enjoyed coffee. The cost of opening a store here is too high. It's unimaginably high. All the stores are only rented and not sold, and the rent is extremely high. For example, the earliest store of our 1524 Mecha Club cost 1.5 billion star coins in rent every year. Moreover, the competition here is very fierce. There are tens of thousands of mecha repair shops near the mecha training grounds. There are also dozens of mecha manufacturers' franchise stores in the surrounding area. In addition, the taxes and employee salaries are high. Even if we have outstanding technical strength, we won't have much money left after working so hard for a year. Then what do you want to do? Xia Xingchen asked. Give up. If there is no profit, give up decisively. This is the family motto of our grounded family. Opening a store is to make money. Many businessmen are keen on expansion at all costs, grabbing land and calling it occupying the market. In fact, that is the most stupid behavior. A bunch of people are fighting each other for a little unfounded profit and paying a huge price. The input and return are seriously disproportionate. Grandad is very open-minded. Is a branch still open? Of course. I plan to go around. Shiny and Star is so big that I don't have to hang myself on a tree in the commercial district. Of course, I have to pay attention to this side. If someone wants to sell a store, I can buy it if the price is right. It will also bring a lot of income if I rent it out every year. I finally understand why the old guys in our grounded family are so keen on being local landlords. Regardless of any generation, being a local landlord is definitely the most relaxing and worry-free job. Hans Grandad sighed. There was no conversation that night. The next morning, Xia Xingchen and Aren finished their martial arts training early, cleaned themselves up, drove their newly bought maglev car, and came to Zhang Yingying's home according to the location information sent by Zhang Yingying. Zhang Yingying stood at the door early to welcome his arrival. Yingying wore a pink dress today, heroic and graceful, but not without tenderness. Xia Xingchen's eyes were straightened when he saw her. At this time, Admiral Zhang Yuan walked out of the villa and walked towards his maglev car. He was going to the Imperial Army for a meeting. Although he also received an invitation from the Minister of Finance, he politely declined. Not only him, but almost all the senior generals in Shiny and Star received invitations, but no one attended. The Minister of Finance sent you an invitation just out of courtesy, and it would be inappropriate to actually attend. The Empire's senior officials who hold financial power and senior military generals are hooking up with each other, which will inevitably arouse suspicion and gossip. Ordinary people can't afford this big hat. He saw Xia Xingchen coming from a distance and took the initiative to step forward and say hello. Xia Xingchen took the initiative to salute, and Admiral Zhang Yuan returned the salute. Soldier Xia Xingchen greets the general. Good job, Kit, I've heard of you. Don't be restrained in front of me, just call me Uncle Zhang. Zhang Yuan saw that Xia Xingchen was handsome and liked him very much. Yes, Uncle Zhang. Xingchen, which department do you work in the 3rd Fleet? 3rd Fleet, Watchstar Garrison, Mecha Division of the 06th Mecha Squadron at the Quicksand Base. Boy, I have high hopes for you. Come to my 1st Fleet. I'll give you a position as the captain of a Mecha Squadron. And you'll be there wherever Yingying is in the future. I'll leave my daughter to you. Admiral Zhang Yuan's eyes were full of love. He wanted to recruit this outstanding young man himself. Zhang Yingying blushed as she heard this, her eyes full of expectation. I'm sorry, Uncle Zhang, I can't go to the 1st Fleet for the time being. General von Klausch saved my life. Moreover, Nicholas and I have a deep hatred, so I can't leave the 3rd Fleet for the time being. Yingying and I are very good friends, but before I take revenge, I can't consider emotional issues. Please forgive me, Xia Xingchen said solemnly. Good boy, you are loyal and righteous. I was right about you. Admiral Zhang Yuan patted him on the shoulder. The 1st Fleet is always open to you. Come to me when you have made up your mind. Thank you, General. I wish you a good time. General Zhang Yuan said, turned around and got into the car to leave. Zhang Yingying sat in the co-pilot seat, fastened her seatbelt, and the car was about to start. At this time, a military magnetic levitation vehicle drove over from the opposite side. A soldier in his early 20s got out of the car. He was about the same height as Hao Cheng, but he was full of strength, his eyes were firm, and he exuded a breath of awe. Xia Xingchen smelled a familiar smell that was murderous. He was wearing a set of military training clothes and looked unkempt. He also had the rank of captain on his shoulders. Zhang Yingying hurriedly got out of the car and ran out, and Xia Xingchen followed. "Brother, you are back." Zhang Yingying rushed over like a happy little bird and hugged her brother. "My dear sister, I see you again. You have grown up," the man said. At this time, Xia Xingchen also came closer. Zhang Yingying introduced them to each other. "Brother, this is my good friend Xia Xingchen. Xingchen, this is my brother Zhang Lingwu. He is currently serving in the 7th Fleet." Chapter 186 Female Companions. Zhang Yingying introduced her brother Zhang Lingwu to Xia Xingchen. Zhang Lingwu looked at the man in front of him. There seemed to be nothing special about him, except that he was a little handsome. He was a little disdainful. Zhang Lingwu was a man who valued force above all else. He looked down on those weak and powerless pretty boys. Especially when he saw that Xia Xingchen had the same rank of captain as him, he felt even more indignant. "I worked hard on the front line to become a captain. You, a pretty boy, got the same rank as me by relying on the power of your family. What qualifications do you have to chase my sister?" He regarded Xia Xingchen as some second-generation rich man. Thinking of this, Zhang Lingwu decided to give Xia Xingchen a head start. He walked up, squeezed a smile on his face, held Xia Xingchen's right hand tightly, and began to exert force in his palm. However, the other party's hand was like an iron clamp. No matter how hard he tried, the other party's hand remained motionless. Xia Xingchen still had a smiling expression on her face. Zhang Lingwu was a little anxious. He gritted his teeth, and it seemed as if a shackle was untied from his body, and the murderous aura emanated from his body. Most people would even wet their pants in fear when facing such murderous aura, and people with heart disease would probably be scared to death. Xia Xingchen shook hands with him and smiled, and bursts of murderous aura began to emanate from his body. The murderous auras of the two collided in mid-air, and the huge pressure forced Zhang Yingying to step back many steps. Zhang Lingwu was not feeling well at this time. He had tried his best, but he could not do anything to the other party, and his murderous aura had no effect on Xia Xingchen at all. He could feel from the murderous aura emitted by Xia Xingchen that the number of people killed by the other party on the battlefield was no less than his own. "Stop, what are you doing? Brother, are you trying to bully people again?" Yingying said anxiously. From childhood to adulthood, Zhang Lingwu has used force to drive away the flies that entangled his sister. Hearing Zhang Yingying's words, Xia Xingchen withdrew the strength in his hands, and Zhang Lingwu also stopped. He scratched his head and said embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, sister. When I see a hero like Xingchen, I can't help but want to compete with him." "Xingchen, I'm sorry," Zhang Lingwu said with a fist to express his apology. "Brother Zhang, you are too polite." "Sister, where are you going? Where is father?" "I have 12 days of home leave, and today is the first day," Zhang Lingwu asked. "What a coincidence. Father just left for about half a minute. He had to go to the Imperial Army for a meeting. Today is the coming of age ceremony of Miss Yao Yi, the daughter of Minister of Finance Xia Xingchen. She has invited both of us. We should go together." "Brother, you should go too." "No, I'll go home directly, see mother first, and then have a good sleep. I'm not invited, and I don't have a dance partner. Besides, there must be a lot of greasy-haired young men there. I can't stand them. If I go there, there will definitely be fights. You guys go. I wish you two have fun." After saying goodbye, Xia Xingchen drove to the Yao family compound. The Yao family compound is the manor of the Yao family. It covers an area half the size of the Imperial Palace. There are dozens of beautiful natural landscapes such as beaches, rivers, forests, pastures, and dozens of luxurious villas in the manor. The annual maintenance and security costs are sky high. The car arrived at the gate of the Yao family compound. The security personnel scanned the quarter code on Xia Xingchen's invitation and carefully checked the identities of the two people before letting them pass. "It takes a long drive from here to the venue of the coming of age ceremony. What a big manor, comparable to a palace," Xia Xingchen exclaimed. "This is the result of the efforts of dozens of talented heads of the Yao family for thousands of years. If they take a wrong step, there will be no Yao family today. It is really not easy." Han said that the Yao family controls hundreds of interstellar consortiums. So what is the main business of their family? Xia Xingchen was very curious. What is the most important strategic resource we talked about in class? Zhang Yingying asked him. Of course it's energy. Do you mean that the Yao family is in the energy business? Yes, the energy companies that account for 85% of the market share of the Galactic Empire are controlled by the Yao family. Energy is the lifeblood of a country. Most wars in history were caused by energy competition. This is also the real reason why their family has occupied the position of Minister of Finance for many years. However, the Yao family does have a lot of talented people in economics, which is the foundation of a big family. The car stopped in a large square, and a servant came to help them park the car. Beside the square is a huge lawn, the size of 5 football fields. There are chairs, tables, a huge podium and various tents on the lawn. Today's coming-of-age ceremony and the subsequent banquet will be held here. At this time, many people have gathered on the lawn. Most of them are young people, including Yao Yi's classmates, friends, and young talents from other imperial ministers' families invited by Xia Xingchen. The Minister of Finance also wanted to find a good family for his daughter. Seeing the men and women holding hands, Zhang Yingying naturally took Xia Xingchen's arm. Xia Xingchen, here. Xia Xingchen heard someone calling him and turned to look for the source of the voice. It turned out to be Dayren. Several people in their dormitory were on the west side of the lawn, so he led Zhang Yingying over. Han's granddad came over with a beautiful girl. She was wearing a white dress, and the girl was also very white, making people unforgettable. Granddad, who had undergone a month of special weight loss training, stood beside her, looking tall and straight in a black dress. Xingchen, let me introduce you. This is my friend, Yao Yi. Hello, nice to meet you. This is Zhang Yingying, my female companion, and this is Han's granddad, my roommate. Xia Xingchen introduced them to each other. Sister Yao Yi, you look so beautiful today, but when did you get a boyfriend? You actually made a surprise attack. Zhang Yingying joked. As one of the 7 pharaohs of the Imperial Military Command Academy, they all knew each other and had a good personal relationship. Zhang Yingying was a few months younger than Yao Yi, so she called her sister. Sister Yingying, aren't you the same? You even managed to pry the princess's guardian knight away. Yao Yi teased Zhang Yingying a little. Sister, don't talk nonsense. Xingchen and I are just very good friends. Zhang Yingying's face turned red. Hans and I used to be good friends. At this time, Dayren also came over, and with him followed a slender, very dignified and elegant intellectual beauty. She smiled slightly, revealing a pair of sweet dimples at the corners of her mouth. The girl introduced herself. Hello, I'm Ji Yuntu, and I'm Dayren's friend. Everyone greeted the beautiful woman. Hans whispered beside Xia Xingchen's ear and said, this girl is Dayren's childhood sweetheart. Xia Xingchen suddenly realized. Li Qiru, who was beside Li Xiaomin, looked at Xia Xingchen infatuatedly, feeling very uncomfortable. Li Xiaomin saw his sister in such pain and didn't know how to comfort her. He himself didn't understand the matter of love. Only those who were trapped in it knew the taste. Chapter 187 Boyfriend. Sister Yao Yi, I'm here. A somewhat childish voice attracted everyone's attention. A short girl came running from the east side of the square. She was wearing a princess dress and had 2 playful pigtails. She looked sweet and lovely. She was a top-notch big lolly. Kinga, this way. Yao Yi waved his hand, and the big lolly ran over. Sister is an adult today. I still have to wait for 3 years. It's so long. When can I grow up? Grandpa said that I can only find a boyfriend after I become an adult. Yao Yi smiled and introduced the little girl to everyone. It turned out that the girl was called Zuo King. She was only 15 years old this year and was a special student of the Mecha Maintenance and Design Department of the Imperial Military Command Academy. Her grandfather was the master of the mecha design industry of the Galactic Empire, Mr. Zuo Lehang. Yao Yi introduced everyone on the side, but the big lolly kept staring at Han's granddad. She came to Yao Yi and whispered, Sister, there is nothing special about this big stupid bull, and he is not handsome. How did he trick you into his hand? Oh, I know, he must be very good in bed. Zuo King suddenly smiled evilly. Her nickname in the Imperial Military Command Academy was the Little Witch, and she loved to play tricks on others. "Oh, you dead girl, what are you talking about? I will kill you." Yaoyi grabbed the Beglal's braid, and she begged for mercy. Yaoyi continued to introduce, and when she introduced Xia Xingchen, the Beglali stared at him. "You guy, I was not in school this time, so you got the advantage. Otherwise the champion of the mecha design competition would definitely be mine." It turned out that the mecha design competition coincided with Master Zuo Lehung's birthday. The little loli took a long vacation to go to Chang'an to celebrate her grandfather's birthday and missed the competition. Since their group consisted of handsome men and beautiful women, they attracted everyone's attention. Of course, this included many unfriendly looks from male creatures. Envy, jealousy, and hate filled the space. Little Tangjin also saw them and ran over to say hello. His father was the Deputy Minister of Finance, so he also had a copy of the invitation. The other second generation rich saw that little Tangjin was very respectful to several people and knew that these people were not to be trifled with, so they all gave up the idea of coming up to find fault. Amid the heated conversation of the crowd, the time came to 10:30 in the morning, and the Imperial Finance Minister Xia Xingchen took his daughter's hand and walked up to the podium in front. At the beginning of the ceremony, the Minister of Finance said a lot of words to thank the guests for attending, and then how proud he was of his daughter as a father. Then he announced that his daughter would come up to speak. Xia Xingchen was standing aside and felt very bored. Apart from the host's speech, there was a banquet, which was the so-called coming-of-age ceremony, nothing more. Xia Xingchen didn't understand why these people were so keen on holding coming-of-age ceremonies. Even the princess's coming-of-age ceremony was just like that. But for the nobles and people in the so-called circle, this was socializing, and they tried every means to create opportunities for people to have the opportunity to communicate with each other. Yaoyi thanked her parents and all the guests and relatives and friends for attending her coming-of-age ceremony. Afterwards, she dragged Han's granddad over and announced in public that Han's granddad was her boyfriend. This move caused an uproar. For a behemoth like the Yao family, although their family inheritance has always been passed down to sons but not daughters, for a married daughter, there will be an enviable fortune as a dowry. What's more, the Yao family is in charge of the empire's taxation, business and other powers. If any business family becomes a relative of the Yao family, the future business road will definitely be smooth. What's more, the only daughter of the Minister of Finance is a great beauty herself, and there are too many animals eyeing this little flower. Who knew that a chubby boy with freckles on his face would become the luckiest person? Except for Han's roommates, the others, including Xia Xingchen and his wife, didn't know that their daughter had a boyfriend. Yaoyi's sudden announcement caught them off guard. Yaoyi and Han's granddad met in their elective courses. Both of them regarded the Military Command College as a business school. They both chose a large number of economic and business management courses. The Imperial Military Command College invited very famous experts in the field of economics to teach. Their classes were very open, and they often threw out realistic topics for students to discuss. Every time at this time, the little fat man was very active. His insights were refreshing, and even the professors who were in class were amazed. Yaoyi was attracted by Han's granddad's talent. The two often attended classes together, went to the library together, and discussed problems together. 17 or 18-year-old men and women are at the age of first love. As a result, the two developed feelings. Especially during the 3-month vacation, Han's granddad stayed with Yaoyi almost every day after he finished his business in the store. In the end, the two secretly tasted the forbidden fruit. After Yaoyi introduced Han's granddad to everyone, he announced the start of the banquet. The two saluted the guests together and walked down the rostrum. At this time, most people in the audience were busy with one thing. They were asking or arranging their men to investigate the origin of this little fat man. Soon, the news came that he was a bastard of the granddad family and had no right of inheritance. Some people were very angry and thought that this fat man must have used some magic to bewitch the eldest daughter of the Yao family. Xia Xingchen and his wife walked towards Yaoyi and Hans. Her mother pulled her aside, and the mother and daughter talked in private. Hans took the initiative to walk over, stretched out his hand neither humble nor arrogant, and said, "Uncle, it's an honor to meet you." Yaoyi and King shook hands with him politely and asked, Who is Benjamin Grandad to you? It's my father. Grandad replied. Don't you Grandad family not marry into the powerful? You come to pursue my daughter. Does your father agree? I was a classmate of your father. Yao Yuan King said. He and Han's father, Benjamin Grandad, were classmates at the Imperial Commercial University. He was deeply impressed by this classmate. Xia Xingchen admired the Grandad family's insights, ideas, and even family heritage in business. One of the philosophies of the Grandad family is not to curry favor with the powerful, not to marry with the powerful, and only to have the minimum contact with the powerful and officials, to protect the interests of the family, such as sending gifts, very small amounts of share cooperation, and so on. Marriage with the powerful and other big families is not allowed. First of all, the ancestors of the Grandad family have long seen through that, although hooking up with the powerful can reap the greatest benefits in a short period of time, at the same time, they have also lost the initiative, and everything must be at the mercy of the other party. Moreover, once the powerful you rely on loses power and steps down, you will have to spit out all the advantages you have taken in the early stage, and even lose your entire family property. Moreover, it is easy to be implicated by marrying with the powerful. The officialdom is very cruel, and there are often disasters of family confiscation and extermination because of some brain-dead relatives. The whole family is ruined. It is not worth it. Another thing that often happens is that many business families not only fail to gain any advantage after marrying with the powerful, but are swallowed up by the other party without leaving any bones. Therefore, the Grandad family has such an ancestral precept. When he was in school, Xia Xingchen once thought that if a child of the Grandad family could become the son-in-law of the Yao family, then the Yao family would definitely be able to move to a higher level. He told Benjamin about this idea and wanted to form a family of in-laws with him, but Benjamin rejected it with the family ancestral precepts. Chapter 188 Investigating the Son-in-Law. Yao Yuan King curiously asked Han's Grandad, the boyfriend unilaterally announced by his beloved daughter. Why didn't he abide by the Grandad family's training of not marrying the rich and powerful? Hans replied, Uncle, first of all, I'm a bastard, my mother is a concubine, and I have no relationship with the Grandad family now. They won't give me a penny, and I have no obligations to that family. Second, Xia and I are truly in love, and I like her as a person, not your family. My daughter has been pampered since she was a child and has never lived a hard life. How can you support her? Yao Yuan King looked at him with a smile. When I left the family, I had a capital of 2 billion star coins. So far, in less than a year, the Mecha Maintenance Center co-founded by my roommates and I has earned nearly 100 billion, and as our scale expands, it is easy to make a profit of hundreds of billions of star coins every year. Although it can't be compared with your family, at least it won't make you suffer. Hans Grandad answered confidently. If I give you a chance to marry into our Yao family and let you manage our Yao family business and even leave my position as the Minister of Finance to you, you can even get married right away. What do you think? I'm sorry, Uncle, I can't agree to you. First of all, this involves a man's dignity. Even if he is a businessman, he is also a human being. A man without dignity is worse than a salted fish. Second, if you give me such a platform directly, I will lose my enterprising spirit. A businessman without enterprising spirit is a waste, and I don't want to be a waste. Third, the country is in crisis. To say the most unlucky thing, if we lose the upcoming battle, your Yao family will be swallowed up by Nicholas, and all the children of the Yao family will probably be killed. Instead of being sent to the guillotine with you, it is better for you to hand over Jenna to me. I will protect her. At least there will be no problem in escaping with her. Xia Xingchen was very shocked after hearing Han's Grandad's answer. This boy's insight into the essence of things, his judgment and analysis of the current situation, and his personal insights are simply that of a veteran in the business world. He even suspected that there was a soul that traveled through time and space in the body of this fat man. Boy, I have a new respect for you. I agree with your relationship with Xia, but I will keep an eye on you at all times. If you bully Xia or use her, I will not let you go. I think you know the strength of our family. Yes, father-in-law. Xia Xingchen was speechless. He was shocked by the boy's shamelessness. Hans Grandit took Yaoyi's hand and returned to the circle of roommates like a victorious general. Everyone gave the two a warm applause. Yaoyi snuggled in Hans' arms, looking happy. Sister Yaoyi, I really envy you for having such courage, but it's good that there won't be flies entangled with you, Zhang Yingying said from the heart. Li Qiuru on the side also nodded. She was thinking whether she should be braver and take the initiative to pursue her own happiness. Fatty, I warn you, if you bully Sister Yaoyi or fall in love with someone else, I will take off your head and crush it with the mecha. The one who spoke was the little witch Zuoking, who just didn't like this little fat man. Hans rolled his eyes at her, which meant, come and bite me. Hans, you are hiding it well. When did you hook up with her? Li Xiaomin also teased. I have to work hard to make money, to support my wife in the future. My father-in-law entrusted our daughter to me just now. Hans was very thick-skinned and said shamelessly. Yaoyi blushed when he heard it and waved his pink fist to hit his chest. What nonsense are you talking about? Who is your wife? Hans hugged her and gave her a deep kiss. The beautiful Zuoking said dissatisfiedly, the good cabbages are eaten by pigs. After a long time, the two separated from the sweet kiss, and Hans Grandit announced in public that from today, Yaoyi is the vice president of the 1524 Mecha Club. The brothers in the same dormitory cast admiring eyes. This guy not only kidnapped someone's daughter, but also got a free laborer. Most of the people here are young, so Xia Xingchen and his wife left quickly. The two returned to the bedroom and exchanged their respective information. Our daughter has fallen in love. It's also my fault that I didn't keep an eye on her. She didn't go home for several nights during the holidays. Maybe she was harmed by that bad boy. Xingchen, you are good at judging people. What do you think of this boy? Can our daughter suppress him? Yaoyi's mother said nervously. What did Xia tell you about this boy? Xia said that he is independent, opinionated, talented, has keen judgment in business, and is very tactful and experienced in dealing with things. He also said that he is loyal, responsible, and righteous. I think even a 40-year-old man would find it difficult to meet his standards. She has been deceived. It is said that a woman's IQ is 0 when she is in love. I don't think it is wrong. Yao's mother complained. She was very worried about her daughter. Xia Xingchen took out a reader with Hans Grandit's information on it, including information about the 1524 club. He took a look and handed it to Yaoyi's mother. Take a look, the boy's information. This. After reading the information, she found it hard to believe. Xia has a very sharp vision. There is nothing wrong with her judgment. This guy is a genius. It's a pity that he doesn't want to marry into the family, otherwise my Yao family will usher in another leap. In addition, as the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. Look at the people around him, the princess's guardian knight, the champion of the mecha competition, the son and little princess of the Tang dynasty group, and the most outstanding third generation member of the Day family who is engaged in intelligence. It is impossible to win these people around without strong personal charm and level. Xia Xingchen said faintly. He is so powerful, can my daughter control him? Yaoyi's mother was a little worried. This man is too strong, which may not be a good thing for the woman. What kind of woman can control such a man? My daughter admires him, and he treats our daughter well. This is the best result. Chapter 189. The conspiracy begins. Another weekend has arrived. Xia Xingchen invited Hao Cheng to the 1524 Mecha Club. The secret number 6 elevator lifted the Monkey King Mecha and the Dragon Rider Mecha, which were equipped with macro-controlled nuclear fusion engines, out of the ground. The conveyor belt sent the Mecha to the back door. Their task today was to test the reliability of the new engine of the Mecha. In fact, it was more important to familiarize themselves with the performance of the new Mecha. They also applied for the route. Generally speaking, after the private modified mecha is assembled, professional testers must be invited to test the mecha. This includes endurance testing and reliability testing. However, the area of the mecha test field is limited, and the distance of dozens of kilometers will soon be over. Therefore, the Public Security Management Agency of Shianeo and Star set up several test routes in the sky above sparsely populated areas between the mecha test fields in several different regions for the mecha to test long-distance flights. However, this test must be filed and approved, and the military will monitor the mecha in real time. Once there is a deviation from the route, the military has the right to shoot down the mecha at the first time, and a large fee must be paid to apply for the route. Hao Cheng sat in the cockpit of the Monkey King mecha, and the new mecha configuration made him very excited. In particular, Xia Xingchen improved his thrusters, so the Monkey King mecha had the same flying ability as other mechas. Although the lack of flying wings would lead to a lot of fuel consumption, it was equipped with a nuclear engine, so these fuel consumptions did not matter. The mecha moved forward for dozens of meters, and the various components worked very well together, and the operating system was also very comfortable. In the past 6 months, Xia Xingchen personally maintained Hao Cheng's mecha, and knew his driving habits very well. Xia Xingchen helped him directly when entering the driving habit parameters. Xia Xingchen did not bring the mecha laser rifle and floating cannon today, because it is forbidden to use and carry such weapons in the Xianyu and Star mecha. Xia Xingchen only brought the electric sword. He replaced the floating cannon with 6 foldable flying wings to assist in flight, and these wings also have the function of light energy blades. Hao Cheng, Monkey King Mech, start. Engine power output 10%, 20%, 30%, thruster nozzle open, lift off. Following Hao Cheng's report, the thruster behind the Monkey King Mech released a red light, and the Mech slowly rose to midair. Hao Cheng was very happy, because the red light thruster had an extremely high thrust to weight ratio, and Xia Xingchen used a new type of armor material. The jet area of the Mech thruster was increased by 60% without reducing the strength of the Mech, so the Monkey King Mech could fly inside the atmosphere like ordinary Mechas, and its flight speed was not inferior to Thiz at all. Xia Xingchen, Dragon Rider Mech take off. The 3 pairs of wings of the Dragon Rider Mech spread open, and the Mech took off and hovered in midair with Hao Cheng's Mech. Brother Hao Cheng, first fly up 30% engine power for 10 minutes, then 40%, 50%, 60% and 70% for 10 minutes each. Don't make any moves yet. I'm monitoring your mecha data from time to time through the data link transmission. Remember, never exceed 70% engine power, otherwise you won't be able to explain to the Military Air Traffic Control Bureau. Understood, Xingchen. The 2 mechas flew according to the scheduled route. At this time, in the mecha hangar in the basement of mecha repair shop a few kilometers away from the 2 to Space Knight mechas were undergoing final preparations. A few days ago, one night, Angelica and Jessica had a fierce battle in the villa rented by the Gao brothers at a high price, and got very useful information from them. The Imperial military will hold a general medal ceremony at the Martial Arts Hall of the Royal Memorial Hall on this weekend. Although the peace-loving Emperor Qinzheng will not attend, all the senior military generals will be present. This martial arts hall was the location of the military headquarters in the past. It was here that Emperor Qin Wu planned and commanded the army to unify the Milky Way. Later, the royal family renovated the royal garden and planned the entire royal area and military area. The martial arts hall was preserved as a commemorative building, surrounded by royal mausoleums and royal memorials. The guard force is much worse than that of the royal area and military area. Angelica plans to launch a surprise attack on senior military generals today. If it can cause huge casualties, the major fleets will be leaderless, which can buy Nicholas a long time to prepare, and greatly weaken the strength of the military. There are 8 people participating in this operation. In addition to Jessica and Angelica, there are 2 SEAL-level mecha divisions. The 2 of them are dead soldiers. Their task is to stop the pursuers. After Angelica and Jessica complete the attack, they are responsible for obstructing the pursuit of the pursuers. There are 2 more people who are responsible for picking up the 2 female mecha divisions after they complete the task and abandon the mecha, and the other 2 are mecha maintenance divisions, responsible for installing weapons and equipment on these mechas. The night before the weekend, the Gao brothers had their necks twisted while having sex with 2 women, and their bodies were taken away and buried by the responding personnel. Then, Angelica and Jessica followed the 2 mecha repairmen to the mecha repair shop where they stored their mechas. At this time, the mecha repairmen and clerks in the shop had all been killed, and their bodies were thrown into the storage room. The big screen outside the shop also broadcast a notice of suspension of business tomorrow. In addition to the 2 Space Knights, 2 Royal Knight mechas were also ready. The military's senior general's medal awarding ceremony will start at 10 o'clock the next morning, and they are quietly waiting for that moment to come. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Mecha Raid. It was a little after 9 in the morning. Senior generals of the Imperial Army entered the martial arts hall located in the Royal Memorial Hall area. This was a famous building left by Emperor Qin Wu. For nearly 100 years, the Imperial Army held the military rank granting ceremony for generals and above here. In theory, His Majesty the Emperor should attend. However, the current Emperor Qin Zheng refused to attend the rank granting ceremony on the grounds that he loved peace. This was the first time in the thousands of years of history of the Galactic Empire. Everyone knew that the biggest enemy of the Empire now was Prince Nicholas, whom His Majesty the Emperor loved. The old Prime Minister NK attended the rank granting ceremony. The Emperor of the Empire was unwilling to attend, so he had to let this nearly 90-year-old man do it for him. This represented the attitude of the Galactic Empire government. However, in the Galactic Empire, no one dared to question the qualifications of this old man. Imperial Marshal von Bismarck personally helped the old man to sit on the rostrum. The ranks of the generals of the Galactic Empire include Brigadier General, Major General, Lieutenant General, General, 5-star General, and above that is the Grand Marshal of the Empire. There was no new 5-star General at this rank granting ceremony. Only one general was promoted from Lieutenant General to Admiral, and that person was General von Klausch, commander of the 3rd Fleet. According to tradition, the old Chancellor of the Empire, Lord Danke, personally awarded him the medal on behalf of the Emperor of the Empire. At this time, the hangar door behind a mecha repair shop on the commercial street of the military school quietly opened, and 4 mechas walked out one after another. 2 of them were ordinary Royal Knight mechas and 2 modified Space Knight mechas. Space Knight Mecha, Nuclear Energy Modified Type, Parameters, Strength 25, Agility 30, Armor 30, Speed 36. The Space Knight Mecha is a universal air combat mecha with excellent flight performance. It can carry various weapon modules. Because the performance of this mecha itself is extremely superior and its appearance is cool, it is widely used in the mecha modification industry. These 2 modified Space Knights, equipped with a small plasma cannon, a mecha laser rifle, a mental shield, a light shield system, and 2 light swords. Jessica, target the Royal Exhibition Area Martial Arts Hall, which is 112 kilometers away from here. We can reach the range of the plasma cannon in 2 minutes at full speed. Once we are within the range, we can fire freely without distinction. You 2 are responsible for dealing with those mechas that come to block the way. Yes, Lady Angelica. Jessica and the other 2 mecha masters replied. Action 4 mechas flew into the sky. The martial arts hall is 80 kilometers north of the mecha training ground. Since the Royal Garden is a few dozen kilometers further north, this 80 kilometers is an air defense identification zone, and all aircraft are prohibited from flying. At this time, a shrill alarm sounded in the Air Defense Command Center of Shianyu Star. Alarm. There are 4 mechas rushing at high speed at the direction 54.63. The thermal pattern shows that they are Space Knight mechas. The number is 2, and the number is 2 Royal Knight mechas. The target is heading towards the martial arts hall. Oh no. Major General Ledley, who happened to be on combat readiness duty today, was shocked. He knew that the alert level of the martial arts hall had been raised to the highest level today. Send the evacuation alarm. Level 1 combat alarm. Anti-aircraft weapons open fire. Major General Ledley yelled. Several self-propelled anti-aircraft missile vehicles on the ground fired dozens of anti-mech missiles at the 4 mechas, but the opponent's mechas were too fast, and the missiles were either destroyed or dodged by the opponent's mechas at high speed. For mecha divisions of level C and above, the effect of anti-mech missiles is basically 0. At this time, there was chaos in the martial arts hall. The awarding ceremony had just begun, and the awarding of the rank of Lieutenant General had just ended. The evacuation alarm sounded. The generals present were all surprised. They began to move to the shelter in an orderly manner. Suddenly, two people ran to the window at high speed from the crowd and jumped out of the window. The strong bulletproof glass was in the hands of these two people. It was vulnerable. The two quickly ran to a golden mecha and a black mecha parked in the yard. Mechanic Squad 0818, take off to intercept. Mechanic Squad 0818, wiped out. Major General Ledley punched the console hard after hearing this, blood flowing from his hand. How could this happen? Who are these people? Major General Ledley lamented. This Mechanic Squad 0818 is a C-class mechanized division and 4 D-class mechanized divisions, but they were wiped out in just one round. Altitude 800 meters. Distance 36. Plasma cannon charging. Distance 30. Enter range. Fire. Angelica gave the order. 2 Space Knight mechanized units hovered in the air, and 2 purple plasmas were aimed at the martial arts hall. A cruel smile appeared at the corners of Angelica's mouth. Seeing that the plasma was about to destroy the martial arts hall, 2 mechanized units in the courtyard of the martial arts hall took off into the air. One mechanized unit waved the black alloy longsword in its hand, and a black sword energy rushed out from the longsword, facing the plasma and shooting over. The other golden mecha raised a large golden shield, with a golden halo emitting from the center of the shield. Another beam of plasma hit the center of the shield. 2 violent explosions sounded in the sky. 3 seconds later, the plasma gradually dissipated, and the air was still filled with the smell of ions and ozone. The operation failed. Retreat. Angelica ordered. The 2 Space Knights left first, while the 2 Royal Knight mechas continued to shoot at the martial arts hall with night laser guns. At this time, all the glass in the martial arts hall was shattered by the huge shock wave of the explosion. Several generals who had not yet entered the underground shelter were scratched by the flying debris. Fortunately, they were all slightly injured, and not seriously injured. The black mecha was Admiral von Riddle's Heavenly Killer mecha, and the golden mecha was Admiral Sammer's Holy Shield mecha, another S-class mecha division of the military. When the alarm sounded, the two did not take shelter like others, but ran to the mecha parked outside the martial arts hall. For these S-class mecha masters, their own mechas are the safest place in the world. Plasma cannons are simply unsolvable weapons for ordinary mecha masters. However, the 2 S-class mecha masters easily resolved the 2 plasma attacks with their combat skills. Admiral von Riddle was extremely angry. This attack was simply a slap in the face of the military. He stepped hard on the power pedal of the mecha, and the Xia Xingchen mecha rushed out like a black lightning. Xia Xingchen, the first goal is to protect the safety of military generals. Admiral Sammer said. Nonsense, got it, I'll be back after I deal with these 2 little bugs. The Xia Xingchen mecha's thrusters were fully turned on, and it crossed a distance of 30 kilometers while speaking, and instantly came in front of the 2 Royal Knight mechas. So fast. The 2 mecha masters were shocked, and hurriedly adjusted the night gun to close combat mode and the mecha engine power to the maximum. 2 conical energy shields appeared with the tip of the knight's spear as the center. The 2 of them used their combat skills, and rushed towards the oncoming black mecha. Chapter 191 Interception. Angelica's plan to raid the military award ceremony failed. Their plasma cannon attack was blocked by 2 S-class mecha masters, Admiral von Riddle and Admiral Sammer, who were on the scene. The 2 Space Knight mechas turned around and fled, leaving 2 companions behind. Admiral von Riddle stepped forward to chase, and the 2 Royal Knight mechas responsible for the rear launched combat skills. Admiral Riddle had a blank expression on his face, and the alloy longsword in his hand flashed. With just a simple slash, the 2 mechas turned into 2 balls of exploding flames in the black blade light. He wanted to continue the pursuit, but the Cheyenne Star Air Defense Command Center asked him to go back to the military for protection, and the award ceremony had to continue. Let you save your life, this damn military. Admiral Riddle cursed, and flew back depressed. The danger alarm was lifted, and the generals walked out of the shelter carefully. Von Bismarck looked at the messy awarding site and the embarrassed generals. He turned to the old Prime Minister N.K. and asked, "Old man, look." Prime Minister N.K. waved his hand and said, "Let's continue. We should do what we should do. I have lived for almost 90 years. This is not the first time I have encountered such a thing. Stay calm. Stay calm." Seeing that the old man said so, we can only continue. The medical staff simply treated the wounds of those who were slightly injured, and the awarding ceremony continued. Since most of the tables and chairs on the scene were damaged, everyone stood, and only the elderly Prime Minister continued to sit on the rostrum. The new military ranks were hastily awarded to the promoted generals, and then the Grand Marshal von Bismarck made the final speech. Today is really an unforgettable day. As a soldier, this is a shameful day. We, the senior generals of the imperial military, were almost wiped out in the core area of the empire. It's really embarrassing, he said while scanning the generals. Their expressions varied. Some were still in shock, some were indignant, and more people had angry expressions on their faces. Who did today's incident? I think you all know in your hearts that the mastermind behind it is naturally Prince Nicholas in the north. In recent years, we have been emphasizing that there is a powerful opponent eyeing us in the north, and some of you have been saying that I'm worrying too much. Today, you feel that the god of death is right beside you. Several people in the audience turned red and white, and the old marshal's words slapped them in the face. They hated Nicholas very much and planned to retaliate fiercely. Von Bismarck continued, according to the latest intelligence sent by our intelligence department, Nicholas now has a total of 4 fleets of troops under his command. In addition, he is recruiting star pirates everywhere. By then, he will probably have 5 fleets, or even more troops to rebel. These words were like a heavy bomb that exploded in the crowd, especially the commanders of several fleets who did not attend the secret meeting a few days ago. Their faces were very solemn. Originally, von Bismarck wanted to keep these things secret, but now, he plans to show his cards. You all know very well what kind of person Nicholas is. Don't imagine that he will spare your lives. He will not leave anyone who threatens him. In addition, don't imagine that you can sell out the empire in exchange for a higher position. You are already senior generals with heavy troops. Do you still expect Nicholas, who is suspicious by nature, to give a traitor the position of Grand Marshal? There was a rebellious major general in the Watchstar garrison fleet. He colluded with Nicholas. As a result, his whole family was killed and all the black money in his account was transferred away. You should learn from the past. The old marshal's words were like a knife engraved in everyone's heart, and finally woke them up in pain. Angelica and Jessica missed the first shot, threw down the plasma cannon, and turned to flee. The nuclear engine was fully powered, and the red light thruster burst out red particles. In an instant, it flew over the Mecha test field, and flew to the southeast seashore. Angelica was angry. She was just one step away from achieving her goal. The 2 S-class Mecha divisions were a nightmare to them. The gap was like a chasm. The 2 C-class Mecha divisions that were left behind were killed in one move. At this time, in the Xia Star Air Defense Command, Major General Ledler's eyes were red. These 4 mechas came and went freely in his defense zone, and almost wiped out his superiors. This was simply intolerable. We have launched 30 anti-mecha missiles and nearly 50 anti-aircraft missiles, but none of them hit. The opponent is equipped with a red light engine, which is too fast. 5 mecha teams took off, but the distance from the 2 Space Knight mechas is getting bigger and bigger. Predict their escape route, and make sure to kill them. It's already 56. 53, 80, and the target direction is predicted to be over the ocean. Are there any troops ahead that can intercept? The route has been cleared, and all civilian mechas have been ordered to land. But there are no military mechas on the flight route. Asshole. Ledley threw down his military cap and slammed it on the ground. Wait, the distance ahead is 650. 2 mechas with military identification numbers are flying towards us. Let them intercept, quickly. Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng were testing the performance of the modified mechas. The performance of the Monkey King mecha and the Dragon Rider mecha in the test just now was very satisfactory. At this time, the mecha suddenly sounded an alarm, and the 2 mechas were flying towards them at high speed. At this time, a call suddenly came from the public communication channel. Captain Xia Xingchen, Sergeant Hao Cheng, this is the Xia Star Air Defense Command. 2 Space Knight mechas are approaching you. Please try to intercept them. The opponent is extremely vicious. You can't let them go. You are allowed to destroy them. Xia Xingchen understands. Hao Cheng understands. The Monkey King mecha took off the alloy long stick. The Dragon Rider mecha took out 2 light energy swords and rushed over. Neither of them was equipped with long range weapons, so they suffered a little. Angelica saw that there was someone who was not afraid of death coming to intercept in front of her, so she raised the mecha laser rifle. When she saw the Dragon Rider mecha in front of her from the optical imaging system, she gnashed her teeth in hatred. Xia Xingchen, you're dead. Half a year ago, at the Xia Star mecha fighting competition, Xia Xingchen personally killed Pan Zifu, Rugani and many other outstanding mecha masters from the north, especially Rugani, who had always taken care of her like an older brother, but died at the hands of Xia Xingchen. His behavior also completely shattered the talent recruitment plan that the north had planned for many years. Originally, Angelica and Xia Xingchen were supposed to meet in the semi-finals of the Xia Star mecha fighting competition, but Nicholas stopped the plan in order to preserve his vitality, which deprived her of the opportunity for revenge. Now seeing that it was Xia Xingchen who intercepted her in front, she pulled the trigger angrily. Seeing Angelica actively attacking the Dragon Rider Flying General mecha, Jessica naturally found the Monkey King mecha. However, once they started fighting, they found that their opponents were very difficult to deal with. Not only were their mecha driving skills not bad at all, but the performance of their mechas was even better than this. Obviously, the opponent had made great progress compared to the mecha fighting competition. Abandon your guns, close combat. Angelica was experienced and made a quick decision. The two threw down their mecha rifles, each took out two light swords, and the four mechas collided with each other. Chapter 192 Shot to Death. At this time, the intelligence department had determined that the mechas of the Gao brothers were based on the identification numbers of the two Space Knight mechas. The royal guards and the military police broke into the cabinet meeting room, where the Qin Emperor and his ministers were holding a morning meeting. When they learned that the military was almost wiped out, all the ministers, including the emperor, were shocked. Gao Wantan was dragged out of the meeting room. He was so scared that he peed his ass and took the initiative to provide information that his two sons' mechas were equipped with nuclear-powered engines. When this news reached the Xia Star Air Defense Command, the commander, Major General Ledley, turned green with fear. Xia Xingchen, Hao Cheng, listen up. The opponent's mecha is equipped with a nuclear engine. You must kill them with one blow, and don't give them the chance to self-destruct. Understood. Both of them had solemn expressions. Although the mecha's macro-controlled nuclear fusion engine has an explosion-proof device, once the mecha engine is damaged, the explosion-proof device will automatically spray a reaction reagent to forcibly terminate the nuclear fusion reaction, so that the engine will not explode. However, mechas generally have a self-destruct system. When a mecha is seriously injured or captured, the mecha master does not want to be caught, or wants to keep the technical secrets of the mecha, so he will choose to self-destruct. Some mecha masters will even use self-destruction to perish with their opponents when the mecha's attack power is insufficient. Especially on those mechas equipped with nuclear engines. Activating the self-destruct system will first remove the explosion-proof device on the nuclear engine, and then the engine will become a hydrogen bomb. Although the two Space Knight mechas have been away from densely populated areas, the consequences of detonating two hydrogen bombs here are unbearable for anyone. The four of them were fighting, but Hao Cheng's Monkey King mecha was at a disadvantage. They both had nuclear engines and red light thrusters, but the Space Knight mecha had more thrusters, and was specially designed for flight, so Hao Cheng was at a disadvantage in terms of speed. The opponent could always get rid of him at high speed, and Hao Cheng had to work hard to catch up with him, while Angelica was tightly entangled by the Dragon Rider's mecha. Jessica, hurry up, I'm going to self-destruct. Remember, stay alive to avenge me. There was some determination in Angelica's words, because the radar showed that more than a dozen military mechas were approaching. Yes, sir. Jessica turned around and tried to escape. Seeing this, Xia Xingchen's floating electric blades behind him flew towards Angelica like 6 flying knives, and at this time Xia Xingchen's Dragon Rider Flying General mecha suddenly released the flywheel behind it. The untied mecha rushed out instantly and went straight to Jessica. Jessica had just dodged Hao Cheng's stick, and the mecha thrusters were fully turned on, trying to get rid of it at high speed. Who knew that, just when he saw a little hope, Xia Xingchen was already behind her mecha, and the two light energy swords crossed and chopped down diagonally, and an X-shaped sword light flew towards the Space Knight mecha, which was a combat skill, cross slash. Jessica found that a red dot on the screen quickly came behind her. So fast. This was Jessica's last thought, and the mecha was cut into 4 petals and exploded in midair. Disintegration. At this time, Angelica dodged and blocked vigorously, and finally got rid of the entanglement of the last 2 floating electric blades. However, before she could breathe a sigh of relief, a long alloy stick shone a golden light and smashed down on her head. This time Hao Cheng used the combat skill breaking the sky. Angelica couldn't dodge in time, and could only raise her sword to resist. However, this stick, which condensed the full power of the Monkey King mecha, carried a huge amount of energy, and turned into a giant blade that split Angelica's mecha in half along with the light sword and mecha. Goodbye, Nicholas. Angelica was swallowed by the exploding flames along with the mecha with her last thought. At this time, 6 floating light energy blades slowly flew over. Their tails were connected in pairs, and then turned into 3 pairs of flying wings, connected to the back of the Dragon Rider. This was a brand new design by Xia Xingchen. Because the Dragon Rider device needs to be thrown away in battle to increase the speed and flexibility of the mecha, but the floating gun cannot be recovered. That thing is not cheap, so Xia Xingchen redesigned the floating gun so that it can land on the back of the mecha even without a flywheel. At this time, the 25 mechas of the 5 teams finally arrived and lowered their altitude to check if there were any survivors. Thank you. Major General Ledley was sweating profusely at this time and collapsed on the chair. This day is August 20th, 2019. 2019, known in history as the August 20th incident. The perpetrators involved in the attack were shot dead, but the investigation into the truth of the incident has just begun. The 4 major intelligence departments of the Empire, the Military Intelligence Department, the Gendarmerie, the Royal Guards and other departments have all taken action. At this time, the entire Xia Xingchen star has been under martial law, and the passengers on the space shuttle that had just left Xia Xingchen star have also been firmly controlled. The investigation started with the 4 mechas that launched the attack. They have all been registered and filed with the Mecha Management Department of Xia Xingchen star. Based on the performance of the 2 Space Knight mechas, investigators concluded that the mecha masters inside could never be the 2 brothers Gao Mangxiang and Gao Yingxiang. Their level is too different from the mecha masters in the video. The investigators were about to issue a wanted order, but a team of people found the bodies of the 2 brothers in the flower bed behind the villa, while searching a luxurious villa rented by the 2 brothers. Although the surveillance system of the villa had been destroyed, the investigators still obtained some biological tissue samples from the big bed in the villa. After DNA testing, the 2 samples belonged to Angelica and Jessica, students of the Imperial Military Command Academy. Another team of investigators visited the nightclubs where the 2 brothers often frequented, and through a lot of inquiries and surveillance, they found that the 2 brothers often hooked up with 2 blonde women. After identification, they were Angelica and Jessica. According to the information provided by Dayren, the 2 were officers of the Northern Fleet, both sea-level mecha divisions, and the main persons in charge, arranged by Nicholas in the Imperial Military Command Academy. Therefore, the military determined that the main planners and implementers of this operation were Angelica and Jessica. Angelica was also a fanatical admirer of Nicholas, so the instigator behind the incident could only be Prince Nicholas. The owners of the other 2 Royal Knight mechas were 2 second-generation officials of the Royal Military Academy. However, they were the unlucky ones who were implicated. They just temporarily stored their mechas in the same mecha repair shop. However, there was no way out. Although they were innocent, they were also imprisoned on other charges, and their parents were also implicated and dismissed from their official positions. There was no way out. After all, the impact caused this time was too bad, and someone had to come out to be a scapegoat and a punching bag. Chapter 193 The Empire Strikes Back. According to the owners of the 2 Royal Knight mechas that participated in the attack, the investigators raided the mecha repair shop where they temporarily stored the mechas, and found the bodies of the shop owner and the clerk. At the same time, the military police and the Royal Guards urgently isolated and controlled the Imperial Military Command Academy and the students from the north inside the Imperial Military Academy. They were screened one by one. All the students who had participated in the subversion activities and had close contact with Angelica were taken away and detained. In addition, through the roll call of the students of the two military academies and the positioning of their personal terminals. The Imperial Military Command Academy found that 6 other students from the Northern Fleet were missing, including 2 SEA-level mecha masters and 2 intermediate mecha repairers. Because the 2 Royal Knight mechas were not nuclear engines, the explosion was not as tragic as the explosion of the Space Knight mecha. The military found biological tissue in the wreckage of the mecha, and it was found to be the 2 SEA-level mecha masters. That night, the results of the investigation appeared in front of the Imperial Intelligence Department, the Galactic Empire Military Department, the Cabinet and the Imperial Emperor Qinzheng. Emperor Qinzheng was shocked. He had always had illusions about Prince Nicholas, who had a special relationship with him, and he thought that his military ministers overreacted. However, since the last paralysis plan, he had doubts about his judgment, especially the seriousness of this incident and the results of the investigation. The evidence was irrefutable. His Majesty Emperor Qinzheng's heart was hurt. At this time, several elders of the Royal Elders Council also came to talk to Qinzheng and asked him about his views on sanctioning Nicholas. Qinzheng finally agreed to try and sanction Nicholas in desperation. In fact, he also knew that if he disagreed, the Royal Elders Council would most likely impeach him and force him to abdicate. In the following 2 weeks, the news was strictly controlled. Many people noticed that something big had happened on Xia Star, but no one could tell what happened specifically. Some media wanted to inquire about this matter, but they were severely warned. Any media or individual who dared to publish and disclose any news about Xia Star would be directly charged with treason, confiscated, exterminated, and sentenced to death. For a time, all the media were silent. They didn't even dare to ask for information. At this time, all the major fleets received orders to enter the 2nd level combat readiness state, began to fully arm themselves, and return to the responsible areas of each fleet at full speed. A week later, after working day and night and holding dozens of military meetings, they finally came up with a plan to take military action against Nicholas. The leaders of the various fleets of the Empire left Xia Star and returned to their fleets. Finally, exactly 20 days after the attack, the government and the military of the Galactic Empire jointly released the news. The reason why the news was released after so long was to give each fleet time to rush back to their respective defense zones to prevent Nicholas from jumping off the wall. Through this military meeting, the major fleets redefined their respective defense zones and deployments. Among them, the 1st Fleet, the 2nd Fleet, and the Royal Fleet of the Empire were stationed in the Capital Administrative District. The 3rd Fleet, the 6th Fleet, and the 7th Fleet of the Empire were stationed in the Western Administrative District, which was of great strategic importance. The 4th and 5th Fleets were stationed in the Eastern Administrative District. The Southern Administrative District and the Northern Administrative District do not border each other, so there is no large fleet stationed there. Instead, 4 medium-sized fleets were formed in the Southern Administrative District to train troops and eliminate star pirates as a reserve force for war. At this time, Nicholas already felt that things were not going well. The mobilization of several major fleets of the Empire made him feel uneasy, but he really didn't know what happened to make the Empire's attitude suddenly change. In fact, this action was not really instructed by him, but just a willful act of an infatuated woman for her beloved man. Finally, on September 10, 2019, the Galactic Empire government and the Galactic Empire military issued a joint statement. On August 20, 2019, 4 mechas, including 2 mechas equipped with nuclear power engines and plasma cannons, raided the senior military generals who were holding the inauguration ceremony in the martial arts hall on Xia Star. Under the joint obstruction of 2 S-class mecha divisions, Admiral von Riddle and Admiral Sammer, their conspiracy was crushed, and the remaining 2 mechas were also destroyed by the efforts of the Xia Star garrison. According to the investigation of the Imperial Ministry of Internal Affairs, the planners and participants of this incident were several officers from the Northern Fleet headed by Angelica. The information about their intelligence gathering and subversion activities at the Imperial Military Command Academy was also disclosed. These things are true and can be said to be ironclad. Now the Imperial Ministry of the Interior and the military have sufficient reason to suspect that Prince Nicholas participated in the planning of this attack behind the scenes. The Imperial government and the military put forward the following requirements to Prince Nicholas. First, hand over the command of the Northern Fleet and all military forces in the north. Second, hand over the administrative management rights of the Northern Star region, and the planets in the Northern Administrative region will be directly managed by the Galactic Empire government. Third, he must go to Xia Star to accept investigation within 1 month. If Nicholas refuses to accept the above conditions, the Empire will impose severe economic sanctions on the Northern Administrative region and even use force. Nicholas seemed to be hit hard in the heart, and he spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his men were scared. The failure of the paralysis operation dealt him a heavy blow, and what he lacked most now was time. However, the consequence of Angelica's self-assertion was that the military launched sanctions against him and declared war on the North in advance, almost sending him to a dead end. Nicholas was by no means a man who coveted women. He remained unmarried because he wanted to devote all his energy to the cause of rebellion. The reason why he favored Angelica at that time was nothing more than to satisfy her vanity and make her work for him more wholeheartedly. As a result, this woman regarded this game of exchanging flesh and interests as love, and her crazy behavior almost made Nicholas crazy. A day later, the Northern Administrative District issued a statement with the following points. First, Prince Nicholas was seriously ill and was receiving treatment in a biological treatment cabin and could not go to Xia Star for investigation. Second, Angelica was just a brainless pursuer of Prince Nicholas. After she courted the prince, she was rejected and became angry, so she planned the attack to try to put the blame on Prince Nicholas. Third, the Northern Administrative District government accused the Galactic Empire government and the Imperial Military Department of having many people who were prejudiced against the North, so the Northern Administrative District government expressed disappointment with the Galactic Empire's statement and refused to implement the 3 requirements of the Imperial government. The Imperial government took a clear and tough stance and responded quickly, stopping all trade with the North and requiring all interstellar consortiums with business in the North to withdraw from the Northern Administrative region. A month later, the border was closed, and the army entered a first-level combat readiness state and headed to the border. The situation in the Galactic Empire suddenly became tense. Chapter 194 Aftermath. The impact of the August 20th incident on Xia Star not only accelerated the progress of the war, but also changed the fate of countless people. After the incident, hundreds of thousands of people on Xia Star, including all the students of the 2 military academies, were investigated. Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng were also interrogated separately for many times. Because several members of the Ministry of Internal Affairs investigation team who wanted to make meritorious deeds suspected that they were waiting there to kill and silence them. After many interrogations, it was fruitless because Xia Xingchen and the other 2 did meet by chance while testing the mecha. So these investigators wanted to use lynching or even secret execution on the 2 and then put the hat of accomplices on them. Who knew that the bigwigs of the military had been paying attention to Xia Xingchen and Ren had been protecting these 2 friends, and as a result, the matter was exposed. A group of angry officers, led by Ren and the old man, rushed into the investigation team's station and beat these investigators half to death. Yunfei and Ren were even more furious after knowing this, so a few days later, these investigators disappeared from the world. Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng returned to school unscathed. The Imperial Ministry of the Interior, especially the Imperial National Security Bureau, bears an unshakable responsibility in this incident. Therefore, the director of the Imperial National Security Bureau, Ren's second uncle, was forced to resign, but the new director of the Security Bureau is a distant cousin of Ren. In addition, the Imperial military, such as the head of the Mecha Management Center of Xia Star and the head of the Xia Star Air Defense Force, were replaced. Major General Ledley was able to keep his position because he commanded properly, called the police in time, and organized people to eliminate the attackers. So he was very grateful to Xia Xingchen, Hao Cheng and others. Then there was the Imperial Military Command College. Since all the participants in the attack were students, the principal was forced to resign, and the heads of the school's security and admissions departments were also suspended for inspection. In the government of the Galactic Empire, Deputy Prime Minister Gao Wantan was arrested. Under torture by the Ministry of the Interior, he confessed that he had accepted benefits from Nicholas, and identified those government officials who had accepted benefits from the North like him. So the Ministry of the Interior, the Procuratorate, and the Military Police Department were in a state of chaos again, arresting dozens of officials, and then constantly raiding homes, arresting people, and executing people. The entire Xia Star was shrouded in a terrifying atmosphere. But none of this had anything to do with Xia Xingchen. He was busy taking the second final exam of the first academic year. As a result, he easily passed the exams for all the courses he signed up for. So far, he has completed the exams for 90% of the subjects. In another 6 months, he can graduate, after passing the exams for the remaining courses. But Xia Xingchen has his own plans. He wants to go out and experience for another year, to see where he is still lacking, and then in the 3rd year, he will make up for a few more courses in a targeted manner. Shortly after the imperial government announced the truth of the August 20th incident, Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng received a notice of promotion. Because he and Hao Cheng made great contributions in intercepting Angelica and Jessica's mechas, and saved many people's positions, they received special promotions. Xia Xingchen was promoted from captain to major, while Hao Cheng was promoted directly from sergeant to second lieutenant. Before General von Klausch left, Xia Xingchen told the general about his plan, and von Klausch suggested that he go to the newly built squadron of the 3rd Fleet for training. At this time of year, a large number of military academies will graduate, not only the Imperial Military Command Academy and the Royal Military Academy, but also thousands of other military academies in the Galactic Empire. According to convention, this group of students will be added to the grassroots of each fleet as a supplement to the personnel. Many students who came to the military academy for further study from the army returned to their original units. But this year, General von Klausch did not plan to do so, because the various units of the 3rd Fleet have established a preliminary tacit understanding after more than 2 years of running in, and now the war is about to break out. Such a large number of officers suddenly enter the grassroots units, and it will take at least several months of running in to form combat effectiveness. Therefore, von Klausch decided to gather these graduates together and build 2 new squadrons. Each fleet of the Galactic Empire consists of 5 squadrons and several local garrison fleets. Now, the military and the cabinet have passed the wartime decree, and the major fleets can be expanded. Von Klausch decided to establish the 6th and 7th squadrons, based on the cadets who graduated this year and the recruits. The 6th squadron is mainly composed of cadets, and will carry out combat missions such as combating star pirates, anti-smuggling and anti-infiltration at the junction of the western and northern administrative regions. Admiral von Klausch hopes that this force can quickly grow into a fresh force in battle. The 7th squadron is mainly composed of recruits who have just joined the army. They will receive the most basic training in the Antarctic starfield and carry out the task of combating star pirates. It is unrealistic to expect them to form combat effectiveness in the short term, so they will serve as a reserve and supplement various damaged troops. A few days later, at Zhang Yengying's coming-of-age ceremony, Xia Xingchen told his partners about his plan. In the next few days, he was busy packing his luggage and saying goodbye to Qin Ren, the old gentleman, the 2 princesses and some other friends. On October 6, 2019, Xia Xingchen and Wu Jie took their mechas and boarded the large troop transport ship bound for Lubenstar. Chapter 195 Meet again. Xia Xingchen and Hugo boarded a large space bus class troop transport ship. This type of troop transport ship can carry 5,000 soldiers at a time. If a freezer is used, it can carry 8,000 people at a time. Hugo also joined the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire with special approval. The laws of the Galactic Empire stipulate that alien residents who have obtained legal status within the territory of the Galactic Empire can join the Galactic Empire Army after review and training. If they have made military achievements, they can even become formal citizens of the Empire and enjoy all the rights of citizens. However, in the army, Conservative and xenophobic forces are still very stubborn, and the attitudes of the major fleets towards aliens are also very different. Among them, the Third Fleet has the highest proportion of alien soldiers. General von Klausch believes that aliens are born with many advantages that humans cannot match. As long as they are placed in the right place, they will burst out with extremely strong combat effectiveness, and the Fourth Fleet is the most stubborn place for human conservative forces. The entire Fourth Fleet of the Milky Way is composed entirely of humans, without any alien soldiers. There are too many second-generation ancestors in this fleet, and getting involved with aliens will cause a big mess. This space journey will take more than 10 days, and the destination is Lubenstar, the headquarters of the Third Fleet. There are 8 people in a cabin on the spacecraft. Xia Xingchen and Wu Jie have not left the room except for eating. Xia Xingchen has been reading and meditating, and Wu Jie also got a book and read it seriously. After more than a year of hard work, this alien finally learned human writing, and has been immersed in the ocean of knowledge. 10 days later, the spacecraft arrived at the space station on Lubenstar. Xia Xingchen took Wu Jie and went to berth number 06589 according to the electronic map on the personal terminal. They were going to report here. This berth 06589 is not only a special dock for military spacecraft to dock, but also a residence for personnel on the spacecraft. There are dormitories, training grounds, warehouses and other facilities on the berth. Xia Xingchen and Wu Jie were walking with a backpack each, and most of their luggage was in the mecha container. At this time, a transport vehicle had already transported the Dragon Rider and the Monkey King mecha in the mecha transport container to the berth. Xingchen, you go, a pleasant voice came from behind, and the two turned around to watch, quite surprised. Ying, Vivian, why are you here? I graduated and signed up for the Third Fleet. Vivian said. Because Perlo said he lived in the Western Administrative District. The Third Fleet was stationed in the Western Administrative District. Vivian, who had just graduated from the Intermediate Space Battleship Driving Major, came here, hoping to meet her lover here. I also want to come out to exercise. The credits are almost completed. Zhang Yingying said. Then why don't you go to the First Fleet? Xia Xingchen asked. That's because in the First Fleet, everyone pampers me and loves me. Even if I make mistakes, they will accommodate and comfort me, which is not good for the growth of a commander. So I asked my father to ask General von Klausch to arrange me to the Third Fleet and start from the bottom. Only in this way can I know what my shortcomings are. However, Zhang Yingying did not tell the truth completely. Major General Zhang Yuan specially asked General von Klausch to arrange Yingying and Xia Xingchen together and took Vivian with him. Von Klausch was also willing to help. Which unit are you assigned to? Xia Xingchen asked. The 6th Squadron of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire, the Tangyang high-speed mecha cruiser. The two of us are together, Vivian said first. But Xia Xingchen felt a hint of conspiracy. That's a coincidence. I was also assigned to the Tangyang. Xia Xingchen said. Great, Captain, we are together again. Vivian jumped up happily. Zhang Yingying smiled and said nothing, which further confirmed Xia Xingchen's guess. This little girl has a conspiracy. I'm not the captain now, and there is no bonus for you, classmate Vivian. Oh. Vivian instantly became like a frostbitten eggplant and became unhappy. The four of them got on the shuttle bus again, and after more than 2 hours of traveling, they finally arrived at berth number 06589. Through the reinforced glass on the dock, they saw the space battleship docked at the end of the dock. Tangyang, a high-speed medium-sized mecha cruiser, is the second of the latest Kiang-class medium-sized mecha cruisers produced by Tang Dynasty Group. The ship is 406 meters long, 48 meters wide and 32 meters high. It can carry up to 30 mechas. There are 8 mecha ejection ports on the ship. The power system is 10 large controllable nuclear fusion engines. There are 16 large thrusters at the tail of the spacecraft, and 4 large thrusters on the sides and below the bow of the spacecraft, to facilitate the spacecraft to quickly adjust its direction. The weapon system includes a plasma cannon at the bow and 4 heavy laser cannons. There are 8 twin variable angle heavy laser cannons on the hull. There are 2 on the top, bottom, and sides of the battleship. In addition, 48 twin small laser rapid fire cannons are installed in various parts of the hull as close-in defense weapons. What a great battleship. Vivian exclaimed. Yes, this is a product that Tang Dynasty Group just launched 2 years ago. It has great performance and costs 260 billion star coins per ship. Our third fleet has introduced a total of 10 ships. The first batch of 2 ships were delivered and put into use. The first ship Kayang and our Tangyang. Zhang Yingying introduced them to everyone. Yingying, my whole body is boiling. Let's do a big fight. Miss Vivian's face showed a crazy expression again. I think you miss a man, and Polo is not on the ship. Yingying teased Vivian again. Oh, you dead girl dare to make up about me. Take your life. The two of them played together. Finally, they reached the end of the dock. At this time, the 4 mecha transport containers had been unloaded from the car and neatly placed on the ground. A large group of people surrounded the containers to watch the excitement. Most of them were fresh graduates from various military academies, and this time they were assigned to the Tangyang. There were staff members who guided the new students to settle down in their respective dormitories on the warship. The space on the ship is limited, so except for the captain, everyone else has 5 people in a dormitory. In each dormitory, each crew member has a bed, and under the bed is a table and a personal locker. Chapter 196 Self-Introduction. The next morning, all the crew members were notified to gather at the dock in 30 minutes. The crew members hurriedly packed up their uniforms and came to the open space on the dock. At this time, 3 people were already waiting there. In the middle was a tall blonde man in his early 40s with the rank of colonel. On his left was a bald lieutenant colonel and a fat man in his 40s. Girls, boys, welcome to the Tangyang. From today on, you are one of us. No matter where you come from, where you graduated from, or how prominent your family background is, from now on, those things are not important. You must start from scratch. You are all members of the Tangyang now. Here, you will receive the most rigorous training, without compromise and without mercy. I don't want to ruin the lives of the entire ship because of one of you shitty people. The blonde man looked around at the trainees, saw that their expressions were normal, and nodded slightly. Let me introduce myself. My name is Van Horn, the captain of the Tongyang. You can just call me Captain Horn. This is Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich, the captain of the Mecha squadron on our Tongyang. He will lead your 5 mecha teams to carry out combat missions. When Captain Van Horn introduced himself, the bald lieutenant colonel stepped forward and saluted. Captain Horn pointed to the fat man next to him and introduced, "This is Lieutenant Ancelotti, the chief engineer of this ship." Ancelotti also stepped forward and saluted. This fat man with a smiling face and kind eyes had a big belly, which almost burst his clothes. But no one dared to laugh at him. Because in the entire galaxy, whether it is a military or the civilian, on all spaceships and warships, the chief engineer is the second person after the captain, and their work is directly related to the safety of the entire ship. On a warship, no matter how high the rank is, you must salute the chief engineer first when you see him, and you must absolutely obey the chief engineer's orders. Every experienced chief engineer is the object of recruitment by major fleets. Next, each of you will introduce yourself. The introduction includes name, age, where you are from, what school you graduated from, what title you have, and what you are good at. This is an opportunity for your comrades to get to know you. I ask you not to hide, be modest, or brag. Maybe one day, one of your specialties will play a role in the complex space navigation process and save everyone. Start with you, Horn said, pointing to a crew member in the front of the queue. The crew member walked to the front of the team, saluted everyone, and began to introduce himself. After he finished his introduction, everyone applauded very enthusiastically. Then, it was the next student. I'm Vivian, 23 years old, a recent graduate of the intermediate class of battleship driving at the Xia and Star Empire Military Command Academy. I was born on a spaceship, so I don't know where I'm from. Miss Vivian's humorous introduction caused everyone to laugh. What I'm best at is driving spaceships. I grew up on long-distance cargo ships. I have traveled 80% of the main routes of the Galactic Empire. Amazing. I really didn't expect that. The trainees talked about it. They didn't expect that such a sexy and charming beauty would have such rich experience. Even Captain Horn's eyes lit up. He was originally dissatisfied with Von Krausch's arrangement of such a young girl as a driver. He still preferred an experienced old driver, but now it seems that he has actually picked up a treasure. By the way, I have a boyfriend. He is handsome, rich and can fight, so please don't harass me. As soon as the voice fell, a heartbroken voice came from the team. Many male creatures wanted to show their personal charm in front of Miss Vivian, but they were hit hard. My name is Xia Xingchen, from Xia Xingchen. I'm 18 years old this year, and I'm a student in the Campaign and Tactical Command Department of the Imperial Military Command Academy. My specialties are military chess deduction and combat command. Due to family reasons, I have commanded many fleet-level battles. The people below were silent. This lovely girl who looked like a little princess was so vigorous that she could command a squadron-scale battle. Who knew how powerful her family was? Many men who wanted to make a move on her backed off. Even Captain Horn was crying in his heart. He himself had only commanded a squadron-level simulated battle during the captain training class. By the way, I have a boyfriend too. As she said that, she playfully winked at Xia Xingchen. Suddenly, countless murderous eyes were shot at Xia Xingchen. But he ignored them there. Because just yesterday, Xia Xingchen couldn't stand the tearful offensive of Miss Xia Xingchen, and was forced to agree to pretend to be his boyfriend, to help her resist the harassment of these flies. Finally, it was Xia Xingchen's turn. He came in front of the crowd with several unfriendly eyes and saluted calmly. My name is Xia Xingchen. I'm 18 years old, from Mana, and I'm a student in the Department of Campaign and Tactics Command of the Imperial Military Command Academy. I'm a C-class mecha master and a senior mecha repairman. If you have any unsolvable technical problems in mecha, you can come to me. I'm happy to help you. Silence, deathly silence. C-class mechas under the age of 30 are very rare geniuses, and those who can become senior mecha repairmen under the age of 40 are even rarer. This 18-year-old boy actually did it. This can't be described as a genius. It should be called a monster. No wonder Miss Xia Xingchen has a crush on him. Such a man is too attractive to girls. At this time, the eyes of several other female crew members on the ship are flashing with love. At this time, the expressions of the three people standing in front of the team are even more exciting. Captain Horn was very unhappy when he heard that he was going to put an 18-year-old major on his ship. At this age, he became a major, and his family might be a second-generation ancestor at the level of the Empire's chief minister. Such people are generally stubborn, arrogant, and disobedient. In the history of the Galactic Empire, there have been dozens of such terrible incidents in which the lives of comrades on the entire ship were ruined because of the willfulness of the second-generation ancestor, who knew that this guy was actually a real major. With his ability, he was fully qualified for the position of squadron leader. You know, Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich was only a C-class mecha master. The mecha maintenance team leader and deputy leader on the entire ship were only two intermediate mecha maintenance masters, and the rest were junior mecha maintenance masters. In the end, Captain Van Horn took the lead in applauding, and everyone remembered this guy who was not easy to mess with. Xia Xingchen returned to the team, and a tall alien with blue skin came over, attracting everyone's attention. I'm Yugo, from Furustar. I'm a Terami, and I'm the servant of Master Xia Xingchen. The only thing I'm good at is fighting. Everyone looked at each other. The only alien on the ship was actually Xia Xingchen's servant. I've never seen a soldier with a servant. How big a secret does this person have? Finally, after the self-introduction, Captain Horn picked up a reader and began to announce the personnel arrangements on the ship. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Personnel Arrangements. The crew of the Tangyang medium-sized high-speed mecha cruiser introduced themselves one by one under the leadership of Captain Van Horn. Then, he began to announce the personnel arrangements on the warship. The Tangyang medium-sized cruiser has a standard number of 80 members. In addition to the captain, the mecha squadron leader and the chief engineer, there are 10 pilots. They will be divided into a driving group of 5 people to take turns driving the spacecraft. The approved seats in the spacecraft cockpit are 6, just the captain plus a group of pilots. During combat, another group of personnel will be on standby in the room closest to the cockpit. The Tangyang can store up to 30 mechas, but there are only 5 mecha squads with a total of 25 mecha divisions. The other 5 mecha positions are used to store spare mechas and private mechas. In addition, there are 20 combat personnel on board. They are infantry, but they have all received the most basic training in spacecraft driving, first aid and mecha driving. They are mainly responsible for boarding and landing operations, and will also serve as substitutes for mecha divisions at critical times. The Mecha Maintenance Department has 20 Mecha Maintenance Divisions. They are the hardest working people on the battleship. They are responsible for the maintenance and mounting of ammunition before and after each mecha attack. In addition, if the spacecraft is damaged or breaks down, they have to go to the engine room to help. In addition to the chief engineer, there are 5 people in the engine room who are responsible for monitoring the power system of the battleship and repairing and maintaining it. If there is an emergency and there are not enough people, they will recruit strong men from the mecha repairmen and infantry. In addition, there are 2 medical staff and 3 chefs on the ship. Vivian was appointed as the main pilot of the driving group, and Zhang Yingying was the co-pilot of the driving group. Xia Xingchen was appointed as the captain of the first mecha team, and Hugo was the only member of the first mecha team. Because Horn considered that, if this Terami was separated from Xia Xingchen, he would not listen to anyone's command. And Xia Xingchen is also the only team leader appointed. After all, those who pass the SEAL level mecha division assessment are definitely not ordinary people, and the remaining mecha divisions will not have any objections. After reading out the division of labor among the crew, Captain Van Horn continued, I announce that now, all members will begin the final preparations before departure. 2 days later, we will set out for the Lowland Starfield, to carry out tasks such as eliminating star pirates, combating smuggling, and blocking traffic. There, we can also engage in fire with the infiltration and reconnaissance forces of the Northern Fleet at any time. Therefore, I suggest that you write your will and upload it to the military server for record. If you die in battle, we will send your will and pension to your relatives. Remember, this is actual combat, not an exercise. Do you understand? Understood, sir. Everyone dispersed. Xia Xingchen and Hugo opened the mecha transport container. Most people did not leave because they wanted to see what these mechas looked like. Hugo jumped into the cockpit first and started the mecha, and the Terami warrior mecha stood up. Everyone was stunned to see that a Terami could drive a mecha, especially the unforgettable shape of the Terami warrior mecha, which was even more shocking. Have you heard that Terami people can drive military mechas? A mecha repairman asked his companion. No, I heard that their highest level of mental strength is only equivalent to level 10, and they are illiterate. How can they drive a military mecha? They can't even drive a civilian one. The Terami warrior mecha simply overturned their common sense. What kind of crazy designer can design such a monster? At this time, in the secret base of the Yazi organization in the distant western starfield, Father Free, who had just finished work and was tasting fine wine, suddenly sneezed more than a dozen times in a row. He was almost choked to death by the wine. Which bastard is talking bad about me behind my back? The Terami warrior picked up the mecha laser rifle specially designed for him from the container, and with his other hand inserted 4 light javelins into the back of the mecha, and grabbed the remaining 3 spare light javelins, and walked into the mecha hangar on the spacecraft under the guidance of the mecha repairman. Xia Xingchen also started the mecha. There was another commotion in the crowd. Look, the Dragon Rider Warrior Mecha. This is the latest mecha launched by the Tang Dynasty group this year. A very classic and retro Dragon Rider system mecha. And the lowest configuration version is 1.2 billion star coins per unit. Xia Xingchen is so rich. I think this is used for showing off. It's okay to play with, but using this thing on the battlefield will kill you. That's right. Vivian next to him was unhappy, and she said loudly, what do you know? This mecha was designed by Xia Xingchen himself, and he also won the championship of the Shire Neo and Star Mecha fighting competition last year. Everyone was speechless again after hearing this, and someone remembered a video of mecha battle they had seen. A shocking battle between a Dragon Rider General Mecha and a Monk Mecha, and the two were finally separated after the intervention of 2 S-class mecha masters. Now they know that the Mecha Master who was driving the Dragon Rider General Mecha at that time was actually Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen controlled the Dragon Rider Flying General Mecha to pick up the Flowing Fire Mecha laser rifle and then gently pressed the start button of the Dragon Rider system. The macro engines on the 6 floating cannons scattered in the Mecha transport container suddenly started, and the crowd at the scene saw this and fled backwards to avoid it. What does this lunatic want to do? He will kill us using floating cannons in such a small space. His brain is filled with water. I saw the muzzles of the 6 floating cannons facing upwards, slowly flying up, and then steadily landing on the flywheel behind the Mecha. Oh my god, it's really a magical skill. The crowd that was extremely panicked just now was convinced by Xia Xingchen's move. Colonel Van Horn looked at the 2 people around him and said, I was worried about this trip. After all, we are all rookies. But now I'm relieved, and I have an urge to do something big. And Saloti, the chief engineer and Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich all nodded in agreement. Chapter 198 Team members. 2 days later, everything was ready, and the Tangyang high-speed Mecha cruiser was ready for departure. Today, the crew was in the cockpit. The main pilot was Vivian, the co-pilot and navigator was Zhang Yingying, the first fire controller was Jiuo Lei, the second fire controller was Julian, and the communications and Mecha dispatcher was Fulali. All hatches are closed, the seal inspection is completed, and everything is normal. All pipelines are disconnected, and the dock support arm is disconnected. All systems are powered on, and the system self-check begins. Engine start. 5% power output system inspection is completed, and all systems are normal. Captain, takeoff preparations are complete. Zhang Yingying gave the order very skillfully. Tangyang, set off. Captain Van Horn gave the order to set off. Engine power 15%. Left thruster start. Tail thruster start. Tangyang has left the dock. Engine power 18%. Tangyang has left the orbit of Lubenstar and entered the interstellar channel. The battleship engine test begins. Van Horn gave the order. Understood. All the main jets of Tangyang are turned on. The engine power output is 50%. When the spacecraft leaves the range of Lubenstar, it will sail for 1 hour at 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, and 95% of the engine power output. At this time, other departments inside the spacecraft were not idle. The members of the engine room were monitoring the flight status of the spacecraft. The maintenance team was classifying and testing all the mechas, and Colonel Heinrich organized all the mecha divisions and combat personnel together in the training room. The training room is composed of several cabins of about 100 square meters. There are 10 mecha simulators, various fitness equipment, and 2 rooms specially used for training martial arts. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich is using mecha simulators to assess all mecha divisions. All mecha divisions on Tangyang are certified E-class mecha divisions, most of whom are from military academies. However, only Heinrich and Xia Xingchen have C-class mecha division licenses, and the content of today's assessment is the simulation software for the assessment of C-class mecha divisions. At the beginning, it was still an obstacle test, but the obstacles here were much more difficult than those of the D-level Mecha Master exam. The mechas were randomly selected by the Mecha Masters, because the Mecha Masters at this level would not be affected so much by the performance of the mechas, and the obstacles were not only on land, but also flying in canyons and forests in the atmosphere, and flying at high speed in the asteroid belt in space. From time to time, there would be various lasers and anti-mecha bombs attacking you. Then there was a simulated mecha battle test, with 5 scenes, and 5 mechas besieged the Mecha Master. The mechas of the Mecha Master were also randomly selected. It can be said that the difficulty of the C-level Mecha Master exam is hundreds of times that of the D-level Mecha Master exam. Therefore, the pass rate of the D-level Mecha Master to the C-level Mecha Master is also less than 1%. Xia Xingchen was the first to appear. He easily passed all the tests in a very short time. His move shocked everyone. In addition, 6 people passed the test of this software, that is to say, as long as they pass the 3rd stage of selection, that is, after 4 rounds of one-on-one elimination matches in actual mecha combat, they can obtain the license of C-level mecha division. After passing the software test, they at least have this qualification. In fact, Yugo can reach this level by driving the Terami warrior mecha, but the mecha simulator is purely controlled by mental power, so he did not participate in the test. Heinrich suggested that he try it, but Xia Xingchen led Heinrich to the mecha hangar and took him to climb onto the mecha cockpit to take a look. Heinrich understood it at that time. He never expected that this mecha was actually controlled by a simulated control system. So far, Xia Xingchen and the other 4 mecha divisions with the best results were appointed as captains of the mecha combat team. Then, they were grouped according to the results and characteristics of each student. Xia Xingchen was in the Tangyang number 01 mecha squad. Xia Xingchen's combat number was Tangyang 01, and Yugo was Tangyang 02. By analogy, the combat number of the captain of the number 02 mecha squad was Tangyang 06, and the number of the captain of the number 03 mecha squad was Tangyang 11. It took a whole day to complete the assessment and grouping of the mecha division. Heinrich ordered all the students to quickly rearrange the dormitories according to the grouping of each squad. According to him, only by increasing understanding in life can we have a better understanding in battle. After a period of intense busyness, the 3 new roommates moved into Xia Xingchen's cabin. Everyone was gathered, and the 3 new members reported to Xia Xingchen. Report to the commander, B. Morwen reports to you. Report to the commander, Li Pang, reports to you. The last 2 members reported to Xia Xingchen in unison. Through mutual introductions, they had a preliminary understanding of each other. The second lieutenant named B. Morwen is only 19 years old this year and is from the Eastern Administrative Region. He is less than 170 centimeters tall, thin and dry, but his pair of small eyes are shining and moving around. He comes from the Earth, the birthplace of mankind. Due to excessive human development, the Earth was seriously polluted, resources were increasingly scarce, and a large number of species became extinct. Humans had no choice but to leave the Earth and enter the space age. More than 1,000 years later, the natural ecology of the Earth slowly recovered apart, and a group of nostalgic humans moved back to the Earth. They are very resistant to technology and industry, and live a primitive life of slash and burn farming. B. Morwen's parents are hunters, and have little culture. His father's surname is B and his mother's surname is Ma. The 2 have only 1 son. They hope that their son will be educated in the future, so they named their son B. Morwen. However, they later learned that the 3 words B. Morwen are homophonic with the name of monkey in the ancient mythology of the Earth. Perhaps because of malnutrition, when he was a child, B. Morwen was thin and small, and everyone who knew him called him monkey. B. Morwen was originally a scout in a mecha unit in the garrison of the solar system. He was smart and had excellent mecha driving skills. He made great achievements in the battle against star pirates. Later, he tracked a group of star pirates alone for a day and a night, destroyed 5 star pirate mechas, and led the large force to wipe out the largest star pirate gang in the solar system. He was promoted to 2nd lieutenant for this. B. Morwen was only 16 years old at the time. He also obtained the qualification to study at the Penglai Star Mecha Combat Command Academy. When he graduated, the 3rd Fleet was about to expand and recruit people from their school. He took this opportunity to come to the 3rd Fleet. If the war was not approaching, it would be harder than climbing to the sky to enter the 7 main fleets from their military academy. B. Morwen is best at the Dark Knight Bat Mecha. Reconnaissance, infiltration, and sneak attack are his best skills, and he has rich practical experience. Li Ping and Li Pang are both 20 years old. They are both sergeants, and are from Taolan, a southern administrative region. The 2 brothers are both cool and handsome. They look exactly the same and most people can't tell them apart. So the elder brother Li Ping dyed his hair golden yellow, while the younger brother Li Pang had white hair. The 2 brothers come from a good family and were keen on maglev racing when they were young. They are 3 consecutive champions of the Taolan double maglev racing competition. Later, they were admitted to the Mecha Combat Department of the South Pole Military Command Academy with excellent results. They just graduated this year. The brothers are determined to make achievements. They rejected the opportunity arranged by their parents to join the Taolan garrison and signed up for the selection. They were eventually selected by the expanding Empire's 3rd Fleet. The brothers are best at the Space Knight mech, which has a very high level of long-range attack and close combat. They are particularly good at the cooperation of two mechas. Whether it is long-range cooperation, close combat cooperation or double long-range cooperation, there is a special induction between the identical twins. When the two of them work together, 4 or 5 mechas of the same level mech masters cannot do anything to them. The three of them admire their new captain. Chapter 199 Initial Training. After a night of silence, the Tangyang entered the second day of the journey. Captain Van Horn was very satisfied with the performance of the first driving group, especially Vivian and Zhang Yingying. He appointed Zhang Yingying as the acting commander. If he was unable to command the operation for some reason, Zhang Yingying would be in charge of the full command. Vivian, let's try full speed today. At this time, the warship had entered the main channel, and the density of spaceships here was very small. Captain Horn planned to try full power. Just do your best, don't force it. He didn't know Vivian's strength, so he kindly reminded her. Please rest assured. Autopilot is released. The spacecraft joystick stretched out from the console, and Vivian held it tightly. Engine power, 90%, 95%, 98%. Suddenly, the people in the cab felt a sense of pushback. At this time, Vivian's eyes revealed a hint of fanaticism, as if she was not driving a medium-sized space battleship at this time, but a magnetic levitation sports car. At this time, inside the warship, Xia Xingchen and his team members were training in a combat training room. This training room is 5 meters long, 6 meters wide and 3 meters high. The walls and floor of the training room are made of the material of the battleship armor plate, and the interior is lined with a rubber and plastic protective layer more than half a meter thick. There are 2 such combat training rooms on the ship. Xia Xingchen brought his team members here. He said, in my eyes, you are weak, really weak. I don't want anyone to drag my feet, so I ask you to become stronger, so that you won't die on the battlefield. I don't want your death to be due to your incompetence. Yes, sir. The 3 answered in unison. You watch first, he said, and gestured to Yugo, who immediately attacked Xia Xingchen. The physical strength, power and speed of the Terami people themselves are many times stronger than those of humans. In addition, they have inherited the unique martial arts from hundreds of thousands of years of fighting with wild beasts, and each move is powerful. The Terami people know how powerful this master is. His destructive power is no less powerful than the stinging scorpion that invaded Furu Star that year. Since he arrived at Chaniuan Star, fighting with his master every day has been a very fun and challenging thing for him. The two's moves were more and more vigorous, and Bimoan, Leaping, and Lipang couldn't keep up with each other's moves. The two fought for nearly half an hour. Xia Xingchen was exhausted and was kicked several meters away by Wujie. His body hit the wall heavily. He was embedded in the composite cushion made of rubber and plastic. The 3 hurried over to pull him out. Xia Xingchen squatted there for a long time to wake up, and then he breathed a sigh of relief and recovered. Xia Xingchen stood up and said, "This is my first lesson for you. If you want to become stronger, you must constantly strengthen your body and practice martial arts. Only in this way can you operate the mecha more easily, and only when your body is strengthened, you will have a greater chance of surviving on the battlefield. So, from today on, I will give you 3 a lot of physical training and fighting exercises every day. Do you understand?" "Yes, Captain," the 3 answered in unison. "Next, Leaping, Lipang, you 2 will fight with the monkey separately." "Captain, we brothers are all fighting masters in the military academy. Look at the monkey's small body. What if we hit him too hard and hurt him?" Leaping said. "That's right." Lipang also said. "Stop talking nonsense. Fight when I tell you to, otherwise I'll let Wu go fight you." "Forget it, let's fight with the monkey." The 2 brothers seemed to have developed a fear of Xia Xingchen and Wu Go, a pair of humanoid monsters. Little did they know that they were not the only ones who felt fear. Captain Van Horn in the captain's room saw the fight between the 2 through the surveillance screen. He played the video on the monitors of the entire ship. Most of the members of various departments saw this wonderful fight, and they could no longer remain calm. Captain Heinrich also knew that he was no match for Xia Xingchen in both close combat and mecha combat. Even Yugo, who was driving a mecha, seemed to have a hard time defeating him. B. Morning came to the middle of the field cautiously. "Brother Leaping, Please show mercy, I can't stand it. He said this, but his hands suddenly launched an attack, and his fingers pierced into Li Ping's eyes like hooks. His movements were very fast. Li Ping didn't take him seriously at first, but he didn't know that this kid was so fast and fierce. Oh, Li Ping raised his hands to block, but he didn't know that it was a feint, and the following crotch kick was the real killer. With a loud ping, Li Ping covered his vitals, his body curled up like a shrimp, and fell to the ground, struggling and rolling in pain. Ouch, sorry, I missed. B. Morton rushed forward to help him. Li Ping struggled and rolled to the wall, gasping for breath. Keep going, Xia Xingchen ordered. Li Ping rushed up. As the saying goes, brothers are connected by heart. Seeing his brother in such pain, his lower body also felt numb. However, he looked down on Monkey's moves. He attacked by surprise, gouged out eyes and kicked crotch. This was not what a real man should do. Li Ping learned from his brother's lesson and started to attack as soon as he came up. Various moves and special moves emerged one after another. But B. Morton was very flexible and cunning, and he just didn't fight him head on. Li Ping fought for 4 or 5 minutes, exhausted himself, and didn't even touch B. Morton's clothes. He gradually began to lose strength and his movements slowed down. Haha, I'm so scared, but you can't kick me, haha. B. Morton dodged and provoked Li Ping. Li Ping was angry. He yelled and kicked B. Morton with a flying kick. B. Morton ducked his body and dodged his kick, then suddenly turned around and punched Li Ping right on his vitals like a monkey stealing a peach. Li Ping was still in midair, and after such a heavy blow, he could no longer maintain his posture and fell from midair, doing the same thing as his brother. B. Marwen was very proud that he had dealt with the two little fools without any effort. However, Xia Xingchen pointed at Wu Jie and said, Wu Jie, have some fun with him. B. Marwen's face changed immediately. Boss Xia Xingchen, can you not play like this? No. Objection is invalid. Chapter 200 Battle Review. B. Morwen easily defeated the brothers Li Ping and Li Ping in the competition. The two men struggled on the side, each holding his vitals. On the other side of the monitor, the crew laughed. However, B. Morwen was feeling proud, and Xia Xingchen ordered Wu Go to fight him. Looking at the serious alien opposite, B. Morwen's hair stood up. Danger. The intuition formed in the battle told him that his opponent was very dangerous. This was the feeling he had from the other side. Wu Go looked at B. Morwen and imagined looking at a ferocious beast. Wu Go launched the attack first. In the dictionary of the Terami people, oh, they don't have a dictionary. In the Terami people's concept, there is no such concept as feint attack, humility, etc. Dodge with the fastest speed, attack with the greatest force, and strike first and must kill. This is the martial arts of the Terami people. B. Morwen knew that the gap between his opponent and himself was too big, so he could only dodge with all his strength. Although he was very flexible, Wu Go was faster than him. Seeing that he couldn't dodge, he could only raise his arms to block. As a result, Wu Go raised his leg and kicked B. Morwen against the wall, and he was also heavily embedded in the buffer layer. Seeing B. Morwen grinning, Li Ping and Li Ping brothers felt more balanced. A few minutes later, after catching their breath for a long time, they finally recovered a little and stood in a row again, waiting for Xia Xingchen's comments. Li Ping, Li Ping, B. Morwen, are you three convinced of your defeat? Xia Xingchen asked. I don't accept it. What's the point of sneak attack? If I fight again, I will definitely win. I don't accept it either. If you have the guts, don't hide. Let's have a big fight. The two brothers stared at B. Morwen indignantly, revealing an expression that wanted to kill. I accept it. B. Morwen grinned. His arms and back were still aching. Xia Xingchen frowned. Li Ping, if it was on the battlefield, you two would have been dead. The two were shocked. They couldn't figure out why Xia Xingchen said that. Listen carefully, I will tell you where you are wrong. First, you two underestimated the enemy. On the battlefield, despising any opponent will cost you death. Remember, you only have one life, and despising your opponent is despising your own life. Especially opponents like B. Morwen who have a very deceptive appearance should be taken seriously by you. On the battlefield, an inconspicuous woman, child, or even a flower or an insect can easily take your life. Second, since it is a battle, you must do whatever it takes. You don't care whether others are sneaking up on you or cheating on the battlefield, as long as they can knock you down and leave safely. That's a skill. Listen carefully, you two. There are no rules of the game on the battlefield, no chivalry or humanitarianism. What you have to do is to inflict the greatest damage to the enemy at the lowest cost. Bimorn did a good job in this regard, and these things are the valuable experience he summed up in countless battles. There are countless mecha divisions who died before they learned this. Finally, you are too weak, including Bimorn. Remember, strength is the most important thing. Relying on a smart mind can make you win once or twice, but it will not make you win for a lifetime. You must work hard to improve your own strength in order to survive on the battlefield. The three of them did not speak, silently thinking about what Xia Xingchen said. Bimorn, I won't say much here. You just need to constantly enhance your personal strength on the battlefield. But Liping and Lipang, on the battlefield, even if it is 2-1, your mortality rate is more than 90% when you encounter an opponent like Bimorn. The training room was dead silent. The same was true in the entire battleship. The people who were watching the training of the 01st team through the video also fell into thought. I did a project when I was taking a military history class last year. I looked up a lot of information in the Galactic Empire archives. The Galactic Empire has experienced 3 large-scale space wars since its founding. In these 3 wars, there were 1.85 million mecha divisions directly sent to the front line from major military academies. Among them, the death rate of military academy graduates with combat experience in the first battle was only 12%, while the death rate of military academy graduates who had never been on the battlefield was as high as an astonishing 51%. Now, the war is about to start, and you are likely to encounter those wolf cubs in the north in the first battle. They have been tempered in blood and rain over the years. Therefore, there is no time to summarize the experience for you. Xia Xingchen's words struck a heavy alarm bell in everyone's heart. What is learned in the military academy is only a foundation. For students, they do not have the ability to extract what is most practical on the battlefield. A lot of practical experience can only be learned in the army, on the battlefield, under the whip of the superiors, and after witnessing the bloody corpses of comrades. Given the current situation of our team, once we go to the battlefield, I'm not worried about you go at all. The Terami people have been fighting since they could walk. I'm not worried about Bimorn either. He has more practical experience than me, and it will not be difficult for him to survive. The key is you two, Liping and Lipang. No matter how good you are in the military academy, you are the rookies with the highest death rate on the battlefield. Even the arrogance and sense of superiority you have cultivated in the military academy will make you lose your awe and make you die faster. 80% of the members of the Tangyang strategic cruiser are military academy students, and most of them have never been to the battlefield. Xia Xingchen's data is so convincing that many people were scared. And there is one thing Xia Xingchen said that is absolutely correct. Many of them rely on their outstanding performance in the military academy, and even when they are in the army, they are arrogant and think they are superior to others. After listening to Xia Xingchen's words, they finally understood that they are the most likely to die on the battlefield. Captain, we know where we are wrong. Please help us as much as possible. Liping, as the eldest brother, said first. Lipang also nodded in agreement. From today on, you will have 5 hours of combat training and 5 hours of physical training every day. I will teach you a set of breathing methods to help you recover. As long as there is no combat mission, such training will continue. Today our training subjects are, under double gravity conditions, 2000 push-ups, 2000 sit-ups, 2000 squats. Xia Xingchen listed a desperate training plan. The crew members on the other end of the camera were secretly glad that they were not assigned to the 01st Mecha team and did not have to face such an inhumane captain and dark days. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.